I love you, Bobby.
Hey, V, line them up.
What up, CBR fam? We back again for another Tuesday night with the Legends of Tuesday night. We're waiting for the other one to get here, but he'll be here pretty shortly. But I gotta ask y'all, are y'all excited to have Worrell? Because I keep on mispronouncing his name and spelling it with one L, but it's Worrell and it's two L's. But I just want to know if y'all excited about that tonight. Um, but I'm pretty sure y'all are. I see so many people already commenting in the chats and everything. But let's see who we got here already. We got Rob here. He's already doing his backstage appearances. What's up, Ro? What's up, Mikey Marsh? We got Didi. We got Noe. The two first ladies of the CBR. We got Trey. We got Trey already here. We got cousin Carly in here. We got Chris in here as well. Um, I just want to say thank y'all for showing up this week. And thank y'all every week for showing up. We got a guest that you know. Uh, some people feel like we shouldn't be able to have this man as a guest. But we are, and we gonna let hating ass bitches be hating ass bitches. And we just gonna move on from that. But since as it's gonna progress with Kino and his son's football season, we're just gonna do a little something something before Kino gets here. So we're gonna do this period. We're gonna do a deep dive into MVF. And we're just gonna talk about some things that are still in the MVF that you guys can go and actually read. That are probably gonna be actually really helpful to you. I know that people don't see it like that, but it is still really helpful. Um, so the thing that we're gonna talk about this time is we're gonna talk about a Nido virus post that they actually hold on. That's not the right picture. This is the right picture. So this was a post that was originally posted up in the MVF by Brian Fisher, who has actually been on the show already. Um, and basically, what he did was he created this thread on the MVF to basically kind of memorialize some information and things that they had been noticing about nidovirus to this point, right? Um, so in 2017, it had already been established that nidovirus was a thing, and there was literature out about it, and people were actually um, coming to grips with it and admitting it. If some of you guys were around, you guys probably remember in 2017 and a little bit before that, like collection sell-offs, where people would sell off their entire collections. And people would think that they're getting these amazing bargains because it's like, holy shit, like, why is this guy selling his whole collection for this cheap ass price? Only to get that collection and realize that you're really getting like a portion of what the collection was originally, um, and the portion that you got are the survivors to that date of a possible collection-wide Nido infection throughout the entire colony. And some of those animals were still healthy. A lot of those animals they weren't healthy, and people got those animals into their collections, quickly spread through the entire collection, killing everything. Um, but I still saw it, as late as 2021. Um, but it's good to see things like this. We have threads on Facebook and things like that that don't seem to be terribly helpful, but um, you can go look at something like MVF, and the information may be dated, but you can realize that at that point in time, people their hearts were in the right place, and they use spectacular grammar, man. We've had several people come on and talk about the grammar that the grammar and the punctuation that they had to use in their MVF posts, and it shows. So that they gave you a good product when these these tidbits of information were free, but they gave it to you in a very very good state. Um, we even at that point in time we had Pia Bartolini, who was actually at that point in time. I don't know if it was exactly at that point in time, but somewhere after that, I know she was taking in Nido positive animals, and she was working. I forgot the university that she was working with. It was Pia Bartolini, a university, and Dr. Fogelson from Fishhead, um, and they were working they were doing, I guess, just efforts in general for nidovirus, and figuring out how to test for it. Um, if you go onto YouTube, there is an hour long panel with Pia and Dr. Fogelson and Cody Barlini too, and a few other people where they actually talked about nidovirus. Um, if anybody in the chat wants to see that, we can actually try to link that into the description. And I will link this post for the MVF in the description if anybody wants to go back and read that because it's got a ton of good information. There's also, a pretty good part in there from Rich Culver where he talks about nidovirus. It's kind of long, but it's good. And you realize when you read that post that there's a lot of people that had to come to grips with the fact that nidovirus was real. Because to my knowledge, even as far back as 2022, there were some pretty big name breeders who were still saying nidovirus isn't really a real thing. Um, there's people that were not nearly that big that have been saying it as well. Some people had to begin testing for it because of pressure from the community in regards to it. But the thing is that people are taking this serious as of 2024, which makes me happy, and I hope it makes you guys happy as people who are consumers, people who purchase snakes, people who sell snakes, people who trade snakes, people who have snakes coming in out of their collections. It's a good thing to know. Especially how do we quarantine it? That's really the biggest thing because we don't have a cure for it. So it's good that we have these conversations, and you want to see people coming in having constructive conversations. If you go look at that entire thread, what you're not going to see is somebody coming in and scream "fuck you," "this is fake news." There's none of that in that post. It's just people having um, a real conversation with real experiences, and they're not walking into it with the bias of I don't want to talk about Nido because I sell snakes and my snakes might have Nido and I might be selling babies with Nido. That's not what you're gonna see in that post, but it's very informative. Uh, oh, I didn't see none of the. I didn't see none of these. Uh, yeah, some people. Yeah. But yeah. There's also some other posts. So in general, if you guys have things that you guys would like us to go and seek out information on from the NVF, let us know. We'll go try to find a post about it. There is some amazing posts in there. There is an amazing post that I'm gonna talk about next week that comes from Matt Morris, and I forgot the other guy's name. I forgot him, and I talked to him a couple months ago. But there's a post in here that we're gonna talk about cleanliness because I feel like people don't talk about cleanliness in regards to keeping because everybody's just like, oh, you just wipe it down with a Clorox wipe. But there's different purposes. There's different products that you use for different reasons. And at different ages of the snake, may be able to handle different things or not. So that's something that we will talk about. Or we may go to a different post. But if you guys have suggestions for posts that you guys would like for us to dig up or topics in general, just let us know. Also, we still haven't really got a general consensus about getting t-shirts out. I think there was only a few people that admitted that they even wanted to see a t-shirt. So as of right now, we don't know if we're gonna do t-shirts until people say that they want t-shirts. We would love to do them, but we just don't want to get stuck with a bunch of t-shirts, or just whatever in general. Yeah, Carly, you told me, and like three other people told me, but like nobody else told me. And I'm not just gonna make a shirt just for Carly. Uh, but yeah. I don't know. That's pretty much all I got. As far as that part goes, um, I'm sorry I was supposed to put city design, and I can make them up. Listen, we got several people. If you want to be the person to 3D press some t-shirts, you can for us. We would love it. Uh, I was supposed to do more this week, but I kind of ran behind. I'm still dealing with getting my house back in order from water damage. We just got walls repainted today, so that's nice. And the floor's been removed, so we got to get a new floor put in, which will happen probably in the next few days or so. So if you have been wondering why I haven't posted anything or anything in general, why I haven't been doing as much for the Chondro Bar Room, it's pretty much that reason. But I will say this: Kino has been doing a lot, and we are going to try to put out more YouTube shorts, because I know that that's how you get people to see your stuff on YouTube. So we will try to put out more YouTube shorts. Um, Shortly here, you will see a lot more production value coming up from the CBR, probably the next 2 3 months. Um, but nothing's really changing besides that. Um, but we're still waiting for Kino. He should be hopping in here anytime soon. I'm gonna go back and see what comments we got in here. Dimitri, what's up, Dimitri, man? How you been, man? Um, yeah, yeah. What's up, Pat, man? I haven't talked to you in a minute, man. How you doing, brother? What's up, 1776? You've been a stranger lately. But yeah, I got nothing else besides that. But so I'm going to bring in our guest tonight. I'm going to bring in Rob. We'll let Kino get in once he gets in. Um, but that's just how it's going to go. So I want y'all to get ready for the David Ruffin the Chondros, Mr. Rob Worrell. What's up, Rob?
Hey, how you doing, Travis?
I'm good. How you doing tonight?
Doing well. Doing well.
Hey,
Alrighty.
I gotta say,
So
Rob.
Kino's late for this podcast.
Yes, he is late for this. He listen. Listen, this is how it's gonna
Uh,
go for a minute. That's why we're gonna do the MVF thing and some other information. Because his son has football practice, but he's making it. He'll be here. But Rob, we can't hold it against him because we already talked about this. This
I
might
know.
be a show that runs a little bit late, so we're gonna make sure
Gotcha.
that everybody gets their full 2 hours of Kino, his hat, and whatever else he's got to offer y'all tonight. But first of all, I want to say thank you. Thank you for giving us this opportunity and coming on to the show, Rob.
No, I'm glad to help. Glad to be
Hey,
here.
hey, Rob. Listen, I know we talked on the phone before, but Rob, you are an entertaining individual. I want you to know that. So I think
the
this is gonna be a
thing,
good show.
the
This is gonna
thing
be a
that
good
people
show.
don't understand is, well, I mean, the people that I, talk to regularly and that did, but about every 5 years or so, I would go in and stir the pot. And initially it was just, you know, sort of subtle stuff and safe. And I realized that's not doing any good. That's
It's
not
not.
changing anything. And you have to kind of get in there and stir things up, to really make the changes that are needed. Because this Nido thing, I mean, I didn't realize that you guys were even covering that stuff right now. I mean, I know it was out there. I just thought everybody was sort of ignoring it.
No,
But
no,
that's the
no.
thing that's a shame for you guys is that to start now, I would not even know where to begin. You
Well,
know, if
well, I think that that's one of the things about tonight that we're gonna discover. You're gonna tell us some stuff about some stuff from the past, and we'll be able to help shift you into motion to see the things that are currently going on right now. So I think
oh
this is
no,
gonna be good.
I remember well when the first time I was aware of Nido was I want to say 2017, I believe.
That was the first time I heard about it.
Nacho Arnel, Spanish guy. Where the hell was he at? Probably Spain. That would make the most sense. But he, I had helped him through hatching out a clutch, and he got some really nice animals out of that. Really nice high yellows. And because there was a language barrier, everything had to go through a translator. Some of the things I would ignore. It just like, that doesn't make any sense. You know, I'll figure out what he means later. It's like, that can't mean what he meant. But he had said something to the effect like he had 5 or 6 animals that had respiratory infections. And I thought, that can't be right. He can't mean, you know, 5 or 6 animals. That's just, it didn't translate correctly, you know. And then it became clear pretty quick that, yeah, it was. And then he took it to a vet, and he said, the vet says it's nidovirus. And I'll be honest, my first reaction was, well, okay, what's this vet going to try to get out of him? You know, because I've just had so many bad experiences with vets. And so I tell everybody, if you have a good reptile vet, you know, stick with them and make sure you make them known to the community, because they're really rare. But that vet was correct on it. It was Nido. And I tell you, I've never seen anything like it. I mean, he was sending me pictures weekly. And I mean, it was everything from skin lesions to respiratory infections. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, it just wiped out it wiped out the parents. It wiped out everything but 2 of the babies, which I guess, in fact, probably are Nido positive. They're just not symptomatic. And that, I mean, last I looked, they were 5, 6 years old that I had heard. But, I mean, that was my first exposure to it. And then a couple people had reached out to me later that had gotten wiped out like years before by it. And I don't know if there was a name for it at that point in time, but they had told me the story and everything. And it was just like, remember, like Julian Garcia, he told me what happened with him. And I think he had gotten out he got hit in like 2012. I want to say something like that. And he told me what he went through, and I could tell he wasn't real happy about talking about it. I'm like, dude, you know, I don't want to put you through it again, man. I just kind of curious. And yeah, I mean, same story as what Nacho had gone through, you know. And that, honestly, that the whole reason that I developed artificial was because I wanted to be able to hatch the baby separate from the parents, because even in the 90s, we had all heard stories of collections being wiped out. And
you heard about it as far as back in the 90s?
Yeah, but no, there was no name for anything. Now, was it Nido? I don't know. I have no idea. I couldn't tell you. But I mean, I'd heard about collections getting wiped out. Don't tell me the audio died.
No, I still hear you.
Oh, okay.
I just wasn't trying to talk over you, Rob. Come on. Rob, I don't want to talk over you, man.
No. I just thought I went mute for a second. But yeah, I mean, the whole idea was to get the babies hatched, you know, separate from ever being exposed to the parents, and then they would move into the baby room. And it just was the way I always thought it should be done. You know, that's what scared the hell out of me when I started hearing about people sending animals around for breeder loans and things. And I remember talking to a couple people, and I said, this is going to create a problem that we can't even imagine. And
yeah, I mean, I think the thing about Nido is, I think the thing about Nido and breeder loans, especially with people that like didn't test for them, it was just like when when I was first hearing about it, I was just like, so y'all just gonna trade these animals back and forth? Like it just sounded weird to me. Like it didn't sound like something. It's not like something that people used to do that I thought at that period of time that they would stop doing because Nido was a thing. At that point in time, they just didn't stop. It's kind of like when you hear people being like, "Yeah, I buy secondhand underwear." It's kind of like that. Like just go buy used underwear. Like that's fucking weird. But I mean, people still did it,
Yeah.
man. People still did it.
Yeah. It's just, I mean, I was preparing for it from the beginning, and to see it come, like, I mean, because I'd heard stories about people that had large collections, and honestly, the first one that I heard about was a guy that collected. It was all rattlesnakes, and I don't know if Nido even goes along if they can be carriers of that.
Nido affects a lot of different snakes. It doesn't just affect pythons.
I know it's in. I know it's in balls, and that's probably where it
it's outside
came
of
from.
it's outside of pythons.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, it's outside of
Okay,
pythons.
so yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, though, like, because I'd heard that story a couple times about that guy, because I had a big collection, a lot of Eastern Masaguas, things like that, and everybody said he was never the same, you know. And I mean, I get that, you know, you pour years and years into something, and then, you know, to get wiped out like that, it just, I couldn't even imagine. I couldn't even imagine. So that's why I took, you know, I sort of thought, when I was doing my thing, I thought artificial had already been figured out. It's just nobody was sharing it, you know. So I kind of worked at it, had a couple screw ups, and finally figured that out. And then it was like, okay, these things are good, so I don't have to worry. I mean, because like that time I had a couple animals that were imported in my adult room, and I just didn't want anything in there. You know, because that's one of the things I tell people, like, you want to figure out how to quarantine properly, touch some Vaseline, and then go through your routine and see where it is. All the cages, all everything. But the common denominator in all these cases is everybody goes to the same damn sink to clean their bowls and everything else. And that's the big problem. I think
that's what you think it is. You think it's washing, not so much washing the bowls, but just where you wash the bowls.
I mean, I think if I don't know how it's carried. I mean, I don't know anything about it. I'll be honest with you. I don't know anything about Nido.
I guess my best guess for it is saliva. Saliva. I think that I don't think it's airborne. I think saliva and breeding are the best ways to pass it along. That's just from what I've seen.
I mean, if it's not airborne, then it's something that really transmits very easily.
Yeah, I think it's probably the switching of the water bowls. I think that's a good point. The water bowls and breeding and using the same utensils. Yeah, just fluid. Carly says it's fluid.
Things
fluid
like that. I mean,
yeah, I have tongs for every single snake. With in my collection, mostly because there's no reason to continue to like use tongs between the snakes. I think that's just the best way to spread it, even with just things such as like it's just regular routine respiratory infections. You spread that with utensils.
Yeah. I mean, I had a pair of Argentine boas for years that were if something wasn't in the mood, hey, look who made it in.
What's up, Rob? What is going on?
It's dark, bro. What you in there doing?
Y'all can see me?
Yeah.
You making your solo OnlyFans videos or something? I see nothing.
Oh,
I didn't see no
Lord.
face. I just see like a Jergens bottle like floating across the screen, bro.
Get the fuck out of here, bro. Jerkins bottle, you idiot.
Keep it greasy.
I don't know if I'm going to be old enough for this chat or not.
What is going on? What is going on? Look at Rob over here looking like Bill Nye the Science Guy with a perm.
He do kind of. He's
What's
got
up?
he's got the Jeff Goldblum going on right now.
Oh,
He does it. He's got the whole Jeff Goldblum. He's got the outfit. He's got the shirt, the hair. Listen,
Seinfeld, they got the Seinfeld hair, the clay hair.
listen,
Seinfeld hair.
Rob, I don't know if you know this, but I think you and Ken Deal might be getting your shirts from the same person.
Well, this thing's probably 20 years old, so.
Hold on, let me see your shirt. Hold on.
Let me see your face, Kino.
Oh no, dang. No. See, Ken's shirt look like it came from Fashion Nova. Rob looked like he been thrifting.
Nah, that shirt look nice, man. Don't listen to that shit, Rob. This man just be hating. Listen, I know this man can't wait till he get to be 45 and buy his sweaters from K&G Outfitters and shit. I know he can't wait till then. Who this fucking? What'd you say?
Shout out to K&G though.
Shout out to K&G. K&G Uncle Sweaters. But yeah, Kino, you ready to get in on this thing, man? We
I
was just going
am.
in.
I am. I apologize for my lateness. You know what I'm saying? We got the Khalil football thing started. We got another scrimmage this Thursday, so
Yeah.
you have to get the particulars about that. But
Do you know that your screen is still black, Kino?
what you mean?
It's black.
What? Who can see me? Rob, can you see me?
Yeah, I see you.
I can't see you.
Travis, I can see you and Rob.
I can see you and Rob. All right, hold on a second. Let me back out. And Kino, you just go to asking questions. I'll be right back in.
All right.
Oh, I thought he was screwing with you.
No,
So
for real. I can't see Kino's face.
What up,
Oh.
CJ? Let me see who in the comments before we get the start of Rob. Kino MIA again. Hey, Dimitri, you kiss my black ass, okay? What's up, Carly? What up, Ro? Chris, shout out to Chris, the sponsor in the box 3. Dee, what up, Dee? Look at Pat. Where were y'all at? What up, CJ? Where were y'all at, Rob? Mr. Rob Worrell, the elusive. What was y'all talking about?
Oh, Nido. He started out with about Nido.
Wow.
And
All right. I can
didn't-
see you. I can see you though.
that he opened up with that, and I just said, I mean, unfortunately, it's just not something I can really add to. But I mean, I want to say, I mean, I can't tell you how many people I talked about this with that when I heard about the breeder loan thing, and I said, this is the dumbest idea. What are people? I mean, I would never ship an animal to somebody for a breeder loan. I just couldn't see trusting that. I mean, I was a nervous wreck for years. I had somebody else do the shipping for me. I would pack them up the night before, drop them off, and had somebody else do it because it would just emotionally, it was too much for me. You know, these are like my kids. You know, I couldn't, you know, it just wore me out. But to ship one of my animals, my adults, for a breeder loan, like, no way. There's just, I don't care if they're going to cross it to a purple albino. You know, like, it's just.
Cross it like Kino's cross-color jacket that he got on right now.
Yeah.
Hey, this jacket raw, you know what I'm saying? First off, I'm representing June Tuck. First off, you know, you got all flavors of the rainbow. This the Hellcat jersey, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Hellcat football. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to get you one. Yeah.
Thank you. I need a hoodie like that. I need it.
You know what I'm saying? If you are in the heavily populated rainbow area, this will work wonders.
It's got you got that Bruce Lee gold on. That's I like that.
bro. You know what I'm saying? The swag that they have is nice, bro.
You kicked somebody when you put that hoodie on, didn't you? You probably kicked a child.
No, bro. Unless they lined up offsides.
You want to know something, Rob? We didn't do this. We didn't listen. We're gonna go directly back to Nido, but we didn't get an intro from you, Rob. Like we didn't get to talk about where Rob began uh, in the mean chondro streets of America.
Yeah, when you was knee high to a grasshopper, Rob.
Yeah.
Lord, so you guys want to start back to the beginning?
Take us back to 1919.
That he ain't that old.
Yeah, first off, Kino, 50. I don't know how the hell old you thought I was.
He said you used to go to sock hops and do the huckabuck with your friends and shit.
Well, he said something to me like a week or so ago, and I'm like, Kino, how old do you think I am, dude? Like, the whole reason that I was upset about a lot of this stuff early on was because I was a kid. And I was getting ramrodded by these guys and I was a kid. I was a college student. I was broke. You know, I mean, it's like I didn't have a pot to piss in at that point in time. You know, everything I could get my hands on went into chondros. You know, and it was like I just kept getting ramrodded on things. And that's why, and yeah, probably bitter about some of that stuff yet. But I mean,
okay.
I mean, you guys have already gotten a taste on how this stuff works.
Yeah, I mean, listen, let's just keep it a buck. Bitter men write the best R&B albums, so being bitter is not always a bad thing. It's not always a bad thing.
Keeps you going, keeps you motivated,
keeps you in harmony.
Exactly.
So what was your first brush with green trees, Rob? Where were you at? What happened? How that come about?
Let's talk about where you first started before you even got to college.
Oh. Okay.
Let's talk about, where you first began.
Yeah,
when you first realized you like reptiles.
Baby serial killer coming up.
Oh Lord! I mean, I had allergies as a kid, so things with fur were sort of out of the question. I think more than anything, my parents just didn't want to deal with, dogs or anything like that. Although they did come later, but I'd always had a fascination with them. And I remember I had found a garter snake that I'd named Killer. I thought was a male. And my brother had caught one. And so we had taken care of them over a period of months. And we were just feeding earthworms and things. And I remember we ended up with like close to 90 babies. Had no idea that either of these were females, because the one female dumped like 50.
It was all live.
Yeah, live birth. I mean, I just walk in there and I'm like, what the hell am I looking at? I mean, it was ridiculous. I mean, that one that I had was a big garter, but the one that my brother had, which I'd ended up taking care of at that point, ended up popping like a week or so later. And
you know what's crazy, Rob? When you started this story, or you said you had allergies real bad back in the day, I thought you were about to say they kept you in the house like John Travolta in Bubble Boy, the boy who lives in the bubble. But Rob, you was out here proliferating with these snakes.
Yeah. I mean, that was my first experience with a birth, and I can't really say that affected me in as far as like a breeding goal or anything like that. It was just I had a Florida king snake, I had a California king snake, or a chain king snake rather. Eastern king is a common word. And then I got a ball python when I was about 10. And she was a big girl. She was 10 pounds, which you don't hear that size anymore. But she went to, I can't remember the fella's name. It worked out as the zoo that trooper worked with, because I took him down. I took that female down to. I was trying to think of the fellow's name, Buddy.
Bushiri?
No, he had a Chondro Fest. I want to say around 2010. Or no, I'm sorry. This is This is like 2001. 2000, yeah, right after 9/11. It's like 2001. I took that snake down because she was already about 20 at that point, and I knew Balls could live to be about 50, and I wanted to make sure she got to go to home, so she went, and because I'd already started. I had jungle carpets, pair of jungles, pair of bloods, pair of rainbows, and pair of dumerals. And at that point, it was I wanted to breed. I just wanted to breed something and do the baby thing again. And then I got into the chondros, and they started so quickly that I needed space for the baby. So all the adult stuff went, all the, the jungles, everything else. And it just became chondros, because when I was picking up chondros here and there, everybody was saying, they prolapse all the time. You're going to have all these issues. They're not worth it. You're never going to breed them, and everybody saying that just made me want to do it more, of course. But
because you're hard-headed, Rob.
Yeah, I mean, gotta be, but that's where that, I think that's where I'd say that really started. I mean, they kept saying, you can't do this. It's not worth it. And I mean, guys really I remember, like, I bought animals from Keith McPeak. He was one of the first guys to breed Sanzinias. The Madagascar, what are they? Tree boas? Yeah. And which was funny, because I had a buddy that had a bunch of those that every week this guy was saying, you got to put perches in, you got to get perches in. You're killing those snakes, man. You're killing those snakes. And he spent all this time putting in these perches for these things, and only one of them would ever use the perch at all. I mean, it was just, I don't know, the dirtiest species I've ever dealt with in my life, by far. Those Sanzinias were just filthy animals. But yeah, the chondro stuff it exploded at that point, and I'm like, okay, these are breeding, these are easy. I mean, I'll be honest, it was harder to get. I bred mice, and it took me over 2 years to get an established mice colony going. And
really?
Chondros took me. I got a pair of adults in, and I had babies within that year. And that was like, I mean, I remember hatching my first clutch out successfully was about as exciting as it gets. I mean, looking back on that, I mean, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
There ain't nothing like the first time producing chondros.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, that
you gotta really savor that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still remember it. I mean,
so leading up to the first breeding, how was it getting your first adults in, establishing them? Like, what info did you all have going off of as far as
at that time the only thing that was known about green tree pythons at that time was you throw them together, cool them down, and then when the female goes off food, you throw a nest box in with her. That was the extent of what was known at that point. Okay. Which, given the time frame and everything, I mean, looking back, there's some things that was what got me into so many problems early on, because I had already withdrawn from the community. That, I mean, there wasn't much going at that point. I mean, this is pre-King Snake, even, kingsnake.com, which I think we all started posting there around like 97, I want to say. But there wasn't anything known really at that point in time.
Well, I think that one of the biggest things that I think that people would try to, figure out is like, what did mentorship look like for you? Especially like you receiving help, because it's not like you had a bunch of periodicals or a bunch of books. Like you had to go ask people how things were working. So like, how did that work?
No, that was the whole reason why I withdrew, because I was under the impression that artificial was already out there and that these guys weren't giving up the information. And then even something as simple, you wouldn't believe the hate that I created over just saying that chondros ovulate, and then what day you're going to get the eggs. I got called out on that. It was a good year before that was ever accepted as fact.
Rob,
everybody thought I was crazy.
What's funny about that is
people were going to call you out, Rob, because like you lived the life of Nido. You just pulled away, and then you came back into.
Well, there wasn't. I was in at that point in time. I was. Part of the community that was posting like on King Snake. That's all there was the Green Tree Python forum on King Snake.
Yeah.
And it was just there to sort of help people with regular questions and just participate, things like that. And that's what would sort of get me in trouble, is I would mention. I'll give you an example here. Somebody had said, "Could you post a picture of a cycling female?" Which, we all know that makes no sense. Like, it's not like she's going to be any different color or anything else. And I said, I posted a picture of Jasmine ovulating. That was the first chondro I'd ever bred. I hadn't made the connection yet at that point in time of ovulation to eggs, unfortunately, or fortunate. I don't know if it really mattered too much at that point, but
what made you?
No, I did, because I said the nice thing about knowing this. I said, here's a female ovulating. I said, the nice thing about this is you're going to get eggs, and then what day. And then that's when I got called out and received all this hate and everything that I've never even heard of anybody saying that they, would know when they were going to lay, and just, all kinds of hysterics and everything around that. And people pulled back at that time and everything about it. And then within a year, it was in print on another web page. And then it wasn't long after that it was put into a book, as a matter of fact, but it had been up on a web page for some time, as then it was a matter of fact. And it's like, that's when I started getting a little bit more abrasive, because I'm like, you have it on your web page basically like a year to the day, as it's a fact now. You couldn't have come back and mentioned to everybody else, oh, hey, by the way, Rob was right. Just leave it up in the air.
Somebody had this on their web page.
Yeah,
and they were claiming your work.
Same guy that wrote the book.
Oh, the book. Okay.
Not that he got any permission from me on anything.
Okay.
But it is what it is.
That's interesting, because we were talking to Matt Morris about that. He mentioned that you was one of the first ones credited with observing the ovulation, and also he credited you with the artificial incubation. And
well, all that was done. That was the thing that I think a lot of people don't realize. That was actually done in the first book that was written. The thing about that was there were other people credited in there, like that I had over to my place and shown firsthand. This stuff had already been talked about for years before it ever got out I mean, everybody except that guy that wrote that, he would always say, "Mother knows best. Mother knows best." This is, that this maternal is the only way to do it. You can't artificially hatch them. It's not possible, and that was the consensus amongst everybody.
Okay.
But it had already been. I had already talked to a lot of people about it. They knew I was doing it. It was sort of known. It just they didn't. I'd taken an incubator down to a fella in Virginia who was very well known at the time, or still is. And I gave him, one of the incubators told him how to do it, showed him. I mean, I supplied him with a damn incubator, and then he killed 2 clutches in a row. And I said, well, look, when you're cannling these, what are you seeing as far as the embryo? What's the embryo look like? Oh, I don't know. I didn't candle the embryos. And I'm just like, were the eggs good? Like, you're blaming me. This is the problem. Like, I'm getting blamed, I'm getting attitude here that it's my fault. And it's like, I don't know what more I can do, and it was clear.
He was blaming you, saying that the incubation, the incubator that you gave him was faulty.
I don't know particularly anymore the specifics. I mean, it's just like it's not working, and it's sort of like my fault. It's like, look, I didn't tell you to do it, dude. Do with what you're comfortable with. I mean, I took it down there and did it, but then it was within a year. Then he's teamed up with another guy to make an incubator out of coolers and sell them for $800 a piece. And it's like, I'm a broke college kid. I could have done that. You want to stick your name on something and, $800. I mean, the coolers cost me like $25 a piece back then for a 100-quart cooler. Rob, Jesus.
Hey, were these like wine coolers or like igloo coolers?
Just igloo coolers.
Okay.
Actually, I have. I was just telling this to a buddy the other day.
I know it's not Pat.
I've talked about this before. I have the only incubator in the world that has successfully hatched chondros in. It's also been in the strip club.
Rob, what are you doing with your time and your leisure money, Rob?
I was my best friend at the time. I was best man at his wedding.
He was tricking off.
So we set everything up for the bachelor party. And it's like, okay, how do we get this in? It was, they didn't serve alcohol in Pennsylvania at that time. So you had to bring your own. And so I unhooked one of the incubators. And I didn't mind that one so much because my original is what I relied on the most. The one that I had built initially. That was the one that was sort of like my lucky one. I just felt better about. And there were differences, and I think that it was a better incubator than the cooler. But the coolers are fine once you understand what you're doing. That it's everything you need. It's 6 feet of flex watt, Helix thermostat, and your egg box.
Like here early tonight, huh?
Yeah.
The what?
I'm talking about Pat.
But yeah, I mean, so that was a trip.
I think the question is,
Rob, the hair looks better on video than it does on picture.
The hair.
Yes, the hair.
Yeah,
Isn't it magical? Isn't it magical? I think that's why I got some. I think you probably know who I'm talking about. There's a lot of hate from one guy out there. I think you can probably figure out who. And I think this might be the answer of why.
The way you missing the hair? Damn.
Kino, it just clicked in Kino's head.
No, I know who you're talking about. Listen, Rob came to fire off shots. That's what he came here for. Rob, I guess I gotta ask you this question about being caught up in this, this time period of chondro discovery.
Stealing, basically.
Yeah, we know what happened. But the thing that I gotta ask you about this, Rob, is how what are the things that you knew there were big deals and you said to people about chondros? Like what why did you like how was the community operating at that point where you didn't feel the need to like put out a periodical or anything? Like you just felt did you feel like everybody was gonna look out for you at that point in time when you told them these things or what?
No, I mean, this is the thing. When I reemerged on King Snake, like I said, I thought everybody knew this stuff. I didn't
With your Magneto
realize
helmet?
because I remember I was in the height of the ovulation debacle. I had said I'd met Trooper the first time. Phil Black took me down there, and I met Trooper for the first time. And I said to Trooper, could you go on kingsnake.com and back me up on this? Because I said, I'm getting a lot of shit for it. And he said, I'll be honest with you, I've never seen a chondro ovulate. I have no idea. And that's when it sort of hit me at that moment, like, oh, geez, okay. These guys really haven't been holding anything back. They just don't know.
Man,
and that was sort of, I mean, it made me feel better about it because I thought all these guys that I was reaching out to were just not telling, like, yeah, I mean, I was even spending money to try to get.
So how'd you take that when Trooper told you that? Did you think like he legitimately didn't know, or did you feel?
Oh, I know he didn't know because in fact, when I was telling him, he thought I was lying. I could tell sitting there that he thought I was lying to him. So when I got home from the trip, because it's 3-4 hour drive up, we get back that night. I send him pictures of the setup, and in fact, I can even show you the pictures here of the ones that I sent him. Okay, here's the eggs.
Bro.
All right. So so you can see they're day 20, right?
Okay.
Then it goes to day 30, 43, 47.
Well, what year was that? What year was that, Rob?
This clutch here. This was baby doll clutch. This was, I believe, 98, I want to say.
Wow.
I think. But that was the thing. That was the first, baby doll was the first clutch that I started coding. I didn't start coding until that clutch, which was December 7th, 98. So that was my Pearl Harbor Day babies. And
how many, what number clutch was that when you started coding?
A. So I went in order: A, B, C, D, etc.
How many clutches had you produced before you started coding?
And could you please talk a little bit about what coding is?
Just assigning them, like, in other words, to keep it simple. Because everybody had their own method of coding. To keep it simple, I would make their birth date part of the code. So that clutch became clutch A. Then it was 12.7.98, spotty baby doll. So that way, when people have the code, but it's also their birthday, so it makes sense for them to remember it, which unfortunately doesn't work out too well because I'd have people reach out later. Well, by the way, what was like, I gave you the code with the birth date. I don't know. Like, I have no idea. You're going to have to look. But yeah, I mean, it just, I don't know. It just seemed to make sense for what I was doing at the time. It's just, unfortunately, I didn't keep a list, which is one of the things that's created. Like, I would just code them as I went, but I didn't keep a record. And Lecky was actually the one, like this list here. Lecky went and found just from posts and stuff, you know, and put together that list, and did a pretty good job of it. I mean, I found some here and there that I added and stuff. So this goes up to 20. So this goes from 98 to 2011, and then it stops. So I went to Z. So that was the 26 clutch. Then I started over at AA as the next string in that. So
Okay.
yeah,
You went all the way through Z and then started over with double alphabets.
yeah. So then I'm trying to think. That's the thing now. So I have to find here everything from 2011 to about 2016, 17 yet, but it doesn't really matter. It was to code. I wanted to code the ones that John had hatched for me to my lines, and he's like, "You got to come. What do you think? You know, what should I code this?" And because he still has one down there from that he had hatched out of that litter, and he's like, you know, what code? I'm like, let me, you know, dig through and see if I can find it and figure out, because I had a more complete one. I just haven't got my hands on it yet, so I don't know. I'll figure it out.
Okay. What made you
maybe?
What made you start doing the coding? And
it just got to the point.
And what made you? Why do you think other people coded at the time?
It's just so. I mean, it was just the easiest way to keep track of them. I mean, to keep track of the bloodlines, and then, you know, the parents. I mean, the funny thing is, at that time, nobody really cared as far as what. I mean, at that point in time, I was doing like the Hamburg show. Nobody cared what the parents looked like. That was never a question that came up. It was just, is this captive bred and born?
Really, because that's one of the first. That's one of the first things people ask now, like what the parents look like.
Yeah, that's the thing. That was the shift.
Big deal.
That because I had done a breeder loan in let me see if I can figure out what year this was. Around 2001. And I brought the animals in actually from Leshock, and I knew his collection was safe.
But there's a book. This is like a history book that you kept of all your trades and stuff.
Is that a what?
That's the history book that you're looking at, like that you kept from all your trades and everything you did.
This is just the list that I had produced and assigned the letters to, and that. But yeah, it's just that this is the best time frame on it for anything. But I'd done that breeder loan, and the deal at the time was, I couldn't take any pictures of the parents. Really, I don't know why. They were kind of plain, I think, was the issue. But he did the same thing I did. He would hold back the regular animals and sell what everybody else wanted, because you have the line, you know what you're going to produce. Who cares? But I think green throws people off because everybody was sort of already getting color oriented. But the salvation on that was because I brought in these 10 animals, and Phil Black had given me a Helix, which was defective. And he just forgot or whatever, but it was something he pulled out of a drawer. He's like, he gave me these Helixes, and I hooked up the 10 animals that I brought in. So I bought, because at that time I was just using aquariums for the cages, which were a nightmare to deal with. I mean, aquariums there's advantages to it, but to clean them, oh my God, it's just, and when you've got a pair in there, you've got to pick one up, pick the other up, so you can get the water bowl past them, because they always, during the day, they're sleeping one side and the other for the most part. So it's like, I only I only ever cleaned with the during the day, because lights off, they knew they were getting fed. So that way, I go in, I don't have to worry about getting tagged by mistake, because they know during the day they're never getting fed. But which was one of the funny things when I made the shift then to the boa files, and I got Jeff to build cages to my specs. They had been so accustomed to shooting straight up to get their food that they'd smell the food, and boa files are front opening. They're shooting straight up, hitting the roof of their thing, and it's like, I'm holding a rat in front of you here. Like, what are you doing? But they just are conditioned that way. I just thought it was sort of funny, that they would go like that. But yeah, they.
Why do you think
cages saved me?
What was the shift? What do you think prompted the shift of customers start asking for parental pictures and what the parents look like?
I think okay. That's where I was finishing with that. I didn't have pictures of the parents of that. I wasn't allowed to take them. I don't think I was even allowed to say that I had the animals, in fact. So the deal was I breed them. He wasn't going to. We knew that. And then we'd split them 50-50. And luckily, I brought in all those cages. That helix was defective. The animals never got cooled down. So the only animals that took were the females that were on the floor cages. Because in my room at that time, the floor cages were literally 2-3 inches off the floor. And it was cool enough in that room where they were still cooled and they took. Because I would have ended up with a couple hundred babies that I would have had, because nobody wanted them. Because it already, so we're saying 2001, it had already shifted to that point of, well, I need to see what the parents look like. And it's like, crap, I don't have pictures of the parents. I actually have pictures. I took a picture of Shade's mother by mistake, not thinking, because she laid the eggs under the nest box. And it was just such a dumb thing. That's when I'd always remember to grab the camera when they do something idiotic like that. So I have a picture of the mother to Shade. But other than
those who
that,
don't know, Shade is an animal that went on to produce a lot of animals that connected to melanism and blue line.
Yeah, she did a lot of black that I guess, which what I sold that snake for? $1,500 as a changed animal.
But that was a lot then, though.
Not really. But I didn't have any interest in black. It wasn't. It just
not
wasn't.
The only one, Rob. It's a lot of people that don't have interest in black.
No, I didn't. It wasn't a color that I was really. I just didn't think about it as. I mean, I knew it was different, but I didn't get it. Yeah. You know what I mean? I just this isn't, anything that I really pursue. And then, I mean, I see now what Lecky's done, and he's done incredible stuff with the black, and it's like, okay, I get it now, but those animals there was nothing in those that excited me in what I like, the body structure, the overall size, the body type, the things that would really excite me. And that wasn't there. And I think that was probably why I just wasn't worried about holding any of the stuff back. It just didn't turn out anything that I was interested in.
Hey, Rob, can we touch on your perspective about red babies?
Whoa, man, to say no. You asked that kind of weird.
And about red babies and lineage charts. Can we talk about that? Because I think that might shed some light on Kino's previous question.
Man, you guys, this is the one. Okay, well, let's take an example, for what you have, Kino, with the reds. Okay, Those animals are fine. There's nothing wrong in any way with red. Okay, you already know that. You're watching the little guys grow up. Like
we know
they're fine.
We talked about this.
The issue is you have to keep in mind the original pedigree. Anything that goes back to pedigrees, those pedigrees were designed for one reason: to keep track so that they know which animal to inbreed. So who were brothers and sisters, mother and father, sister, daughter. Am I saying that right? You got to keep in mind my brain's still a little bit scrambled.
The inbreed pair.
Basically, yeah. So
if you wanted to keep the male back to breed the mom, or the daughter to breed to the father.
and that's the thing. So anything that's originally pedigreed from that, there's a problem with, because it was they were inbreeding for one reason: to get an albino. So you were getting the byproduct of their failed attempt at an albino. That was the sad thing about that, and they would take it in a generation further and generation further. And it's like, oh, these do blue. Okay, we'll put these into that line. Well, the reason that reds were so sort of sought after was that they did red for the simple reason that when they went in, they would go into a much longer color change than yellow. So the color change would take anywhere from 6 to 18 months. Okay. During that time, when they start that initial change, they have 15 colors in them. They look unbelievable. I still see the picture. I'm like, wow, that's incredible. But it's like, no, wait, what's it going to look like when it's done? Is it going to turn solid green? What's it going to do? And the change takes so long. And that was the thing on why I didn't like reds for me, because it's like yellow. I've had yellow where I've boxed them up for a show. They went in yellow, and I had one come out the next day green. And when I say the next day, I'm talking like literally 6-8 hours. Like they were just put into containers to take to the show the day before, and it's like this thing turned green. So it's always really quick, like you knew. And that was the cool thing, like with the baby doll stuff, is then the yellow would come in, and then it would sort of, like, okay, this is going to be a high yellow one. You can see the spine stripe. And that's the thing, like with the baby doll stuff, is very distinctive. Like I can pick out baby doll stuff in a heartbeat. There's nothing I've ever seen similar to it. I shouldn't say similar to a degree, but I can pick out what baby doll blood is. As soon as somebody posts it, I'm like, that came from that line, which in all fairness, the line should have been called Big Mama, which, God, I regret picking these idiotic names. I never thought I'd be repeating these anywhere. It was just something I did.
Big Mama / Baby Doll. This was the female that gave you the 42 eggs, right?
Yeah, Big Mama was the mother to Baby Doll. And that was one I had bought her later. I had already owned Baby Doll, and then I wanted the rest of that bloodline when I realized what Baby Doll could do. And the thing that I was upset about at the time,
she laid what, 44 eggs? You said, and 42 were fertile?
She did 40. I don't want to make sure I don't want to mess this up with the Argentine boas. The Argentines did like 52.
Did Big Mama have a sibling named Medea by any chance?
She was Cincinnati Zoo stock. No, you made a reference there that I just went over my head, didn't it?
It was the movie Medea, Tyler Perry.
Oh, Christ. Yeah, I forgot about that one. Yeah, again,
but back to the 40s.
I picked the dumbest goddamn names there. I never thought I'd be repeating these anywhere. But I've had the conversation with people all over the world about these bloodlines, and I just every time I say it, it just sounds.
This is you was letting random strippers name your bloodline.
No, I tell you exactly how. This is how Baby Doll. this is how Baby Doll. She was just a very gentle critter, and it just fit her. You know, she was just a sweetheart. She was just one of those really chill, mellow critters. And yeah, I wish I would. I mean, but in the actuality, it is like Big Mama. That would be like the bloodline, which is Cincinnati Zoo stock. But that was, again, probably another Nido case that I already know, that I'd already heard about at that point, because everything that was related to that got wiped out. Everything.
The Cincinnati Zoo stock?
Yeah, everything that was left that they had at that time got wiped out. And that would have probably been, I'm trying to think on the year, like, well, see, that was the thing. Big Mama was 20 years old when I got her. So when she did that, she was 20. I did not realize she was sold to me as an 8-year-old animal.
So she gave you 40 plus eggs when she was 20?
Yeah. Yeah. She was a big girl. And that was the thing at the time.
You said she was what? You said she was over 2,500 grams?
She was 3,000. Her daughter Aspen was 2,700, and Baby Doll was only 1,800. She was the smallest in the group.
You said only.
Yeah. Only 1,800.
Well, you got to remember, dude. I didn't know that you could breed a chondro under 1,500 grams until like 2000, 2001, something like that. I would never even considered. You know, I had no idea that you could breed animals that small until I had seen Trooper's collection. And I remember I was in his adult room for 20 to 30 minutes. And I'm just like, come on, let's get to the adult room, man. I don't really care about these sub-adults. Like, I want to see the adults. Where are these animals at, you know? And then he had said something, and it became clear that we were in the adult room. And I remember looking at one that, I mean, maybe was 1,000 grams. And I'm like, what would you get out of an animal that size? He's like, oh, like 17. And I'm like, my thought is, well, why don't you just wait longer and feed it up? Like, why would you even breed it at that size? You know, like, why not bigger? But I mean, I don't know if he meant like, because, you know, a virgin female, her first clutch is always going to be small. You know, you're always going to get between half to 3/4 of what you can count on for the coming clutches.
What's a small clutch for you, by the way, Rob?
Oh, probably one. As far as live.
No, I'm saying. What's a small?
My Jasmine was the first I ever bred, and she had, I forget what the egg count was, but only one survived, and that was before I had figured out artificial. But as the smallest clutch I ever got.
Yeah. Like, what's a small clutch to you? And I remember it was one time you was telling me that a female, like only one overduck was firing.
One what?
It was like one overduck, and you said like you was pissed off because she only gave you like 20 eggs or something.
No,
it was like it was a small.
The one that had one that had, I know which one you're referencing. That was an animal that Bear ended up with. Because the idea behind it was she has one left. She should be able to produce yet at that point, because she had to have one surgically removed because she had prolapsed her oviduct. Yeah. Or ovary rather. But yeah, I'd say the smallest is probably, I don't know. I can tell you this. It's on YouTube. It's on the Dr. Chondro channel. I videoed that one. I remember. because half of it, there was some slugs in it and stuff, and it wasn't the one that I got mad at, that people didn't understand. The snake doesn't understand I'm pissed off. It's okay, people. But that was, like I said, that's how when I learned how you stir the pot, and you either misspell something, or I had put in there taking the eggs from a green tree python, and everybody had to jump in and be like, it's blue. Like, well, it's technically a green tree python, but yes, I understand. So that's why that video basically accumulated all those views, is because everybody wanted to jump in and correct me on the color of it, But like I said, that's how you get participation, though, which is what sort of needed. I mean, there's sort of an overhaul that kind of, I think, needs to be done and looked at. These animals, like, I didn't think this was going to happen. I said it was going to. Well, no, I guess I did see this happening. I mean, unfortunately, but not to this degree. I don't think I thought it was going to be this bad, because this is the thing now with the way it is. To add anything to your collection, I mean, it just scares me. I don't know enough about it. Like I said, I've talked to guys that do, to explain to me that even if an animal is Nido negative from the test, that doesn't guarantee anything. So the question is, at what point then are you safe? You know what I mean? So how do you add more? I just figured animals dying, not getting into this predicament that we're in now.
I think that reasonably, after several tests, or several years of testing, you can say the animal is Nido negative. I think that's the best way to go about it, with multiple tests over a certain period of time. But I wouldn't say you just testing once means that it's Nido negative. I don't think that holds up.
Yeah, I think, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, I knew we were going to get here, but this is worse. I just figured a lot of animals were going to die, not to get to the point now of like, well, how do you add more, and then just I mean, I feel for you guys, everybody that's into this hobby that wants to, add stuff. Like, what do you do? I mean,
you still get stuff, Rob. You get it, you test it, you keep it in quarantine. You still get it.
I wouldn't have the balls. I wouldn't have the balls.
That's like
I would be afraid.
That's like somebody being like, "Yo, like, it's AIDS out here. We can't ever get nobody pregnant." Like that. That's how that sounds.
I mean, that's the thing. When you reach a certain point, I think, where, I mean, I hadn't added anything into my collection new since probably the last thing would have been around 2003.
Why is that? Why weren't you on the search for like red Neos with a heavy blue line lineage, Rob?
Now, it wasn't that they were blue line. I was in the search of just red Neos. And I had picked up a couple. Let's see, I got 3 that we can all say, okay, they were all pedigreed, put it that way, from the original pedigree stuff. So, I mean, I know that they were lines that were, it's all the same line. That's what people don't understand. Whatever color it was, they were related. Everything was close enough together, because of the inbreeding, like I said. So I dealt with that stuff a lot, and I know what an absolute headache. Like Miss Mighty, for example, when she died, I hated to say it at the time, but I was just thankful, because every year, she took 6 years to get her up to size. I got her as like a 3-year-old, 4-year-old that just needed some more size. It took her about 6 years to get her big enough to breed, which I think at that time was probably, well, it would have been over 1,000. I mean, I wouldn't consider it anything smaller than that, but got her up to that, bred her, outcrossed it beautifully. The babies were perfect. I mean, they were just hardy little sons of bitches, everything else. Didn't dawn on me that I wouldn't see anything else from that. I just figured out, I'll repeat the pair next year or whatever, how, depending on how she puts on the weight, but at that point in time, I'd never seen anything you couldn't breed every year. But it was time, like every time it was to start feeding them up and get ready for breeding season, she would go off feed and then develop like shedding issues. And it's like, come on, like, what the hell is going on here? And she did it 4 years in a row where I just could not get the weight on her.
This was
and
a red Nido from one of the blue lines? Or the blue line? A blue line Nido?
I wouldn't say blue. I just say a pedigreed. I mean, she wasn't specifically blue lined. She was more sold along the lines of like mite phase, that kind of thing. The appeal to me was just that they were red. I mean, because I had her, Miss Mighty and Mr. Mighty were brother and sister from the same litter. I had outcrossed both of them with jade blood. The problem was, even with Mr. Mighty, was that he only lived to be 7, and then died. That was, I mean, those bloodlines. I mean, I'll tell you, like with Lecky, he had a couple animals of the same pedigreed stuff, and he had called me up. And he was like, "Dude, I'm getting out. Like, if you want these animals or whatever, come get them." And I spent some time with him, like, "John, just hang in there. And it was like, I'm trying to think what year that was. I went down because he's like, "I'm done. I'm absolutely done with this."
No, dude.
That was like 2005, I think, I want to say. And I'm looking at the animals and I'm like, "John," because he'd show me one and he's like, "Okay, I bred her last year." So she was bred basically 12 months previous, not just by a few months, but she was a year away since she had laid. And this animal was 690 grams. And I'm like, Jesus, she is not putting the weight back on, And I'm looking at everything he has and I'm like, "Look, John, dude, what you have, I wouldn't be doing any better with. It's not you. It's the animals. It's the bloodlines. I mean, look at this." And we just go through and look at all the different problems. I mean, look at the weight, look at the body structure of these things. Look at the size. Like, he's feeding correctly and everything. What is the explanation? And he started buying animals from me. And that's when he started building up his collection. And thank God, because he got pretty much one of everything. I mean, he covered all the important stuff as far as I was concerned, line-wise, like jade blood, baby doll's blood, things like that. And I had to get an animal back from him to breed the female that I have now. So I've got back an original black pearl that I had produced in like 2007, I think. Let me see. Just for, yeah, 2007. And that's what I'm using on the Chloe Noah, or the baby doll. It's baby doll jade blood. It's a outcross that I did to just put jade blood into baby doll blood. Never in a million years thought it would be a colorful pairing. Wasn't the point. The point was to just take my largest line and mix it with my strongest line. Who the hell would have ever thought color would come out of that? But it did. They were just phenomenal, and it worked out.
And those created the Black Pearl line?
The Black Pearl line was actually an inbreeding project. That was the one that I was really kind of upset about.
No, because I gotta get on your.
You already know. I told you I did it. How
gotta get on
else
your
would I
ass,
say
Rob.
this is a reason you
I gotta
can't do
get
it?
on your
Because I
ass,
did it.
Rob. So,
But the thing is with them
why did you do
is,
it? If you were so
well,
against it.
that was the thing that had me so upset, was that I thought, if I will do this, that means anybody will. And that really kind of burned on me for a while. I mean, it really bothered me, because I really thought, if I'm going to do this, anybody will. But everything had shifted to color. I didn't breed Jade again, because, I mean, she was, she came in, bred her. She not only put on the weight, like 5 meals, day her eggs hatch. She's back to the exact weight she was when she came in. 7 months later, she goes from the 1,500 grams that she came in to 2,200 grams. Breed her again. Realize this is something I've never seen before. Didn't realize I'd never see again, but that was the way that worked. And, geez, man, that one really burns me. But where was I going with that now? You just took me down a path.
No, you got to talk about that. Why?
Okay, she got sidelined. So she got sidelined because it's like, okay, I've got to do color. And unfortunately, I fell for that misconception that to produce color, you need to inbreed. And so I did them, and that would have been what year would I say that was? Yeah, 03. So I did it, and I just thought, okay, I'm not going to do this again, and make it clear, like, look, if anybody but multiples or whatever, this is you can't do it. But the babies were so hardy that I repeated it a bunch of times. So I didn't take it back in anything. I just kept repeating it. And that was one of the things I thought was sort of unusual, though, with that, is because I did that pairing just in this list here. I did them in 03, 05, 07, 09, and that's Chloe. Yeah, so
you did that pairing 4 different times. It was also
no, to that. I mean, I did that. I did that probably 10. I think that was one that. No, maybe not. Maybe that wasn't one. At least like 6, 8 times. There's no question about that, because I knew what the outcome was. It was fine. I'm like, okay, just don't anybody take this back another step. And that's the thing where.
But look, to this point though, you were getting color from animals that you weren't inbreeding. So why inbreed?
Well, you have to keep in mind, at that time, I hadn't really been doing anything of color yet. I was just focusing on, like I said, I was just looking at like body structure, overall size, things like that.
But you were getting high yellow animals though before you did the inbreeding, right?
No, this is 03. I mean, this is 2003.
I thought the inbreeding was where you got the black from.
Yeah, the black surfaced more in the black pearls, but it would come out just as fine. Like John's proven that many times with what he's done. John's taken this a lot further than I did with blacks, and he's never inbred any of it.
Right.
So he's shown that color was already there. It's just, you got to focus on it, and it never dawned on me to focus on it. Like, my biggest thing about that was, everybody's like, well, you got to come up with a name with that. I'm like, well, it's baby doll blood. Well, they're unique enough. You got to come up with a different name. And then black pearls came about, it just, that does sound better than baby doll or big mama. I mean,
they do. Black pearl got a nice ring to it.
Yeah. which is actually it's the brand of olives that I used to eat. Well, I in fact have one here. I have a can of those here, but not the most creative way to get it, but you know, it is what it is.
So look, if you knew you had these potent lines where you had these animals was known for size and a hardiness, did you ever think about going to the people who was inbreeding with these predominantly red lines and say, hey, or did you ever think about buying one from them and saying, hey, look, I did this to that?
That was the thing.
Can I tack on something to this question? Hey,
sure.
Could you tell us like how long it took for you to notice a difference in body composition of these snakes from snakes that you had been outcrossing to snakes that had been inbred?
Good question.
You're gonna have to repeat that one.
So like how long did it take for you to realize the difference in body composition to your snakes that you had just been outcrossing with each other as opposed to snakes that had been inbred?
And how did you go about trying to use your lines to fix animal lines that you say were inbred? Or did you go about buying and bringing in or go to them people? So 2-part question.
Well, I mean, I already had a good amount of those on hand, you know, Miss Mighty, Mr. Mighty, Cindy, all that stuff was from those lines. And I had already used like Jade Blood stuff, like Jaden. That was one of Jade's daughters, and outcrossed that. And I used like Noah with, let's see, that was son of Jade. So I did Noah to Miss Mighty. So that was Jade Blood crossed to a predominantly red, inbred animal. And they did, I mean, you could see it in the, you know, the babies would eat well and everything. It was a quick fix. It really was. And that was always my point, where if you guys are truly in this for the, you know, whatever, the virtuous reasons, why don't you just do an outcross and start working on fixing these things?
He said the virtuous reasons.
You know, well, I mean, this idea that, you know, oh, I'm fine with, you know, hatching out 5 babies, 3 of which, you know, are going to die because they won't eat, and then end up with 2. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, why not just breed it out and, you know, work on fixing the line and then take it whatever direction, you know, color-wise down the road that you want to do. You know, you got to get these things to produce and eat. And that's the thing with those, that all those things need to be assist fed, it seems. And that's something I was never willing to do. I mean, I was at the point, I would always probably, every other clutch, I'd have one holdout that wouldn't eat for me. And it's like, you don't want to be here, you're not going to be here. I'll let you go. Because it's not something I would sell to a person, you know, because you raise that up, and then what do they end up with? You know, they end up with a whole clutch of babies that won't eat.
Sound like Ryan Young.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just, I mean, eating all this stuff. It just, I don't understand why everything. Okay, the color, their pattern, whatever it is, the high black, high blue, whatever. That's the only genetic component, as far as everybody's concerned, that argues about this. That's the only thing's genetic. But it's like, okay, so how they eat, how they start, how big they get in size as adults, what kind of body type they have, you know, I mean, all that stuff is just as much genetic as the adult coloration. But everybody wants to skip that part. And that's the thing I don't understand, you know, like when I offered that, I had held back 7 or 8 Jade females that were basically insurance policies for me. Like if anything happened, was like price wise, where I'll be honest, I just didn't want to see the price go below 500. That was my concern. So I'm like, if they go to $50 a piece, these things are hardier than Argentine boas. You know, like I can just breed these and make my money out of it and sort of, you know, break even on my way out. You know what I mean? But I never imagined it going like it was. But I put those animals out there and I said, look, here's a quick fix. You know, I think I wanted like 3,000 a piece. They were basically green critters, but they would go whatever direction you want. If it was blue, if it was yellow, whatever. I already knew that from using the jade stuff for years, that they go whatever direction you wanted, and you're getting, you know, phenomenal eating babies. You know, you're fixing everything. But I mean, granted, my stuff, that stuff was fairly inbred, but not. I mean, you have to. This is 2003, so you can imagine the stuff that's been taken further recently. You know what kind of shape that's in. So,
how early? Talking about the hardiness of your lines. How early on? And this kind of tying in Travis' question. How early on when you did those first? Let's say your first two parents. Let's say your first three parents. From the first one to the third, how far along during the establishment of the Neos did you realize, damn, these animals are growing fast? Or I guess I can't say the first because your first clutch, that's your first introduction to the snakes. I guess I want to just do second and third. Compare your second and third clutches to your first when you first had it. When you knew, at what point during that, from hatch to year old, did you realize that you had something special in your hands as far as size wise and metabolism?
Well, that's the thing. The size wise, Jade was the only one that was special for metabolism. Size wise, Jade was only 2,200 grams. She was not in. I mean, I had a female that
only
my scale would only go to 4,000 grams. Okay,
That's a lot.
That female, I couldn't weigh that girl. You put her in a container, she couldn't be weighed. So I mean, she was anywhere, because the Rubbermaids that I used to weigh were like 300 or 600 grams, I think. So you'd have to tear that out, you know. So then it only went to 4,000, but you couldn't even weigh her.
Why'd you put her in like a pillowcase or a bag, Rob?
But well, I have this much space for the weight measure, you know, for the flat surface to set it on. So, like, yeah, I could have probably gotten a piece of styrofoam or something and figured out a way, but I kind of thought she was going to exceed that. But she was sort of, I've never seen anything like that. I remember a couple of people that was up, like Pete had seen her, where I'd never seen anything. I mean, she was on par with like Amazon basins. You know, I've seen Amazon basins that were probably in the neighborhood of 10 pounds, maybe 12 pounds. But this thing was, she was pretty damn close to that. I mean, she was a big girl. But as far as like me knowing, I didn't really realize I hadn't really figured all this stuff out probably until like 2003, when I started seeing those other lines and what they did and how it would sort of take away in clutch size. Like you'd remember when I had posted those pictures that I found when I was moving that I'd hung up in the baby room. And you're like, well, why is all the clutches smaller with the red babies? And I'm like, that's my point. That's the point, you know. That's just, you know, like I would imagine you could fix it, you know, you kept doing it. It's just, I would look at that stuff and like, this isn't really something that I want to hold back. You know, I could only ever hold back so many, you know. I had a very small collection, you know. My adult room only held, I think, 30 cages, 30, you know, for the adults. And I had 7
small, Rob. It's
or
not
8
small.
jade females in there taking up all that space that were, like I said, they were just backups. So, I mean, figure 22 adult cages in there, still some of which, retired animals, things like that, they're not getting used anymore, but stuff that I had no intention of breeding again. But yeah, I mean, at any given time, I mean, I've never paired. I only did that 1 year. I did 4 animals at once. Did it just mute?
We still hear you.
Oh, that's me.
Okay.
I'm muted. My son asked me something.
Oh, gotcha.
But yeah, you can keep going, Rob.
No, I don't know. I think I sort of covered that. I mean, I'm not. That's the thing. It'll probably. I'll be able to explain some of these things a little bit better as I continue to recover on this stuff, but I'm still not quite there yet. This would not have been possible 4 months ago. This would not have even. I wouldn't even considered trying to do something like this. There's no way I could have explained anything.
You good, Rob?
Yeah, this is going really well, Rob.
Al, I wish I could explain some of this stuff a little bit better. I know there's things I'm skipping, but I'll try.
Rob, I gotta ask you about feeding, and we talked about this before about feeding size and the probability that the animals that were taken from the wild 20, 30 years ago, those animals were top dogs in their environments. So, those animals might have been really, really capable of doing these things. And the imports and the animals that have the captive bred animals have been outcrossed to, they may not have the genetic ability to do those things.
In terms of, are we on size yet, or?
Yeah, on size. Yeah, just on size. Because, I mean, you look at the imports now, like, they're not the same size as the imports that you used to get.
Well, see, this is one of the things that I wonder, though, is because I see this shift where people are feeding mice now. Now, I get that with the inbred lines that are really bad, they can't digest rats. So there's no option to feed anything but mice. And you're never going to get a chondro to normal size if you're feeding it mice. I mean, even if you're feeding it 3 or 4 at a time, you're not going to get it, to what you'd normally see when you feed rats. Like when you're growing, when you're feeding these things up and they hit around a year of age, and you make that transition to rat pups, you see the growth just take off. Even though these are, they're not drinking or they're not eating solid foods, they're drinking milk, that still, it's clear there's enough nutrients in that, or fat, or whatever it is, that they just grow quicker. I mean, they just take off the moment you make that switch. Boom. So it's like, okay, there's no question, this is the way to go. And that was the thing with like the Argentine boas. You go, which everybody always gave me shit for, even with the Argentines. You go mice to rats, you see the takeoff when you hit rats. But then when you go from rats to rabbits, again, boom, they take off. I mean, it's just like every gram of the meal is absorbed and converted to body weight. But yeah.
But Rob, can we attribute some of that early stuff to you having animals that's from P&G as well?
And do you think it could possibly be bone density of rats versus mice?
Like calcium level, you mean?
Yeah.
I I honestly, I haven't really thought about it. It's just one of those things that it's like, this works. Why question it? I mean, I'm sure somebody could break down the nutritional value between mice and rats and what the differences are and why they do what they do. But yeah, I mean, again, just one of those things. Why overthink that? It works. Who cares? So I mean,
Could some of that be attributed to you guys having access to imports back then to be quite frankly, borders are closed?
I'll still see animals now that, I mean, it obviously not in the last 4 years. Let's wipe away that. So let's go back to 2020. I was still seeing animals that I'm looking at it. I'm like, that is a 2,500 gram plus female. There's no question. Okay. This isn't the way they're holding it. It's okay. Look at the person's arm. That's a big animal. They're clearly imports. Like they're still, I think, out there. I think what we're seeing now more is people, because I run across this where they're only feeding mice and they're feeding like every 3 weeks. And I'm like, why are you only feeding every 3 weeks? They're never going to grow at that. I mean, you can keep, I'd done that with a boa where, yeah, you can keep a miniature Argentine boa around, just feed it, a mouse every 3 weeks. But yeah, I mean, if you're not making that transition to when it's to rat pup, of equal size, then yeah, you're never going to see the thing grow. They're just not going to take off. So it's it's definitely the food source, but then it's also how often you're feeding. I mean, you're seeing that now in your little ones, with which is a good sign. But I mean, I had to do that early with different ones where if I didn't feed them every 3 days when they were babies, they would destroy their heads. They would cruise around the cage, their little Rubbermaids, and they would take a chunk out of their head from just. I think that I figured out that they were finally doing that on the zip ties that I had in there, which is you got to be wary of it and cut all the sharp edges off that stuff. But they would like crawl under that and take a chunk out of their head. Yeah. And it's one of those things that
or they might have just waited till the lights go out to start giving head. No, man. Rob, look, go in there to top off.
You doing that, Rob?
Go in there to top
off.
that.
But yeah, no, I think there's still. I think the bloodlines are still there. It's just, I mean, honestly, I think this is a sort of a theory. So take it with a grain of salt. It might not mean anything. But my thought is that the pods that they sort of exist in, all the terrestrial species, rains come through, they're washed away miles and miles and miles. 20 miles, 10 miles, whatever. There's no chance of them ever running across a sibling, anything terrestrial. Arboreal stuff, they're sitting in a tree, they're not getting moved. So more than likely, chances of it occurring. Because I've seen this, I mean, look at how quickly that albino came through. And like I said, that was why, the hets, that, who the hell had that? The barkers. Yeah, and there was that National Geographic special on. And I remember a few people had commented on that, like, oh, they have yellow tongues. Well, then they had bred those, and lo and behold, they were het for albinos, if I'm saying that the right way. But yeah. Because boom, they produced the 13 from that. I'm sorry. They produced those 13 Marukis. And then, like Damon ended up with 3 because he was a locality guy. The first thing he did was inbreed them.
Damon Salcides.
Yeah. Yeah. And so he got the 3 Marukis, and then he inbred them, and then boom, you've got, you know, the albino.
He popped the albino too. Yeah.
Clearly, the parents to those were related. You know, I mean, that was the whole reason that everybody, like I said, that's why everybody was doing at that time, the coding, which we're only talking a couple people, but that was why it was done, was to get an albino, you know. So it's just something I never thought about, because I remember when I had heard that, like, well, you know, that's our goal, to get an albino. I'm like, that's like winning the lottery. But I don't know anything about, you know, the genetic part of that stuff and what you know, I just know it's an inbreeding thing. I don't want anything to do with it. I don't care, you know. And that's one of the reasons why, like, the locality stuff never really interested me too much, because it's like, okay, if you want to go on the pure path of the locality, well, how do you get that? First thing you got to do is inbreed it, you know, unless you got a long time to wait. You know, I mean, you could do it, but wait. That's all. You got to find other breeders with unrelated animals. You know, like, it's just, the only way. This is the thing that again confuses the hell out of me. But like when I did a ruse for a number of years.
Boo.
Yeah. I know. Jello body structured animals, you know, they just have no muscle tone to them.
Like
and they have those little weird heads too. But they never produced high whites for me. Never any white. They've just produced green. And I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm done with this. Like, what am I doing?
Were they high weight though? Were they
very much so. Very much so. And I mean, not screaming like, you know, the extreme version that you see, but I mean, anybody who would look at it would be like, yeah, that's a good amount of white. You know, that's fine. You know what? I might have a picture here. Here, like this amount. You both gone? Let's sit here. Oh, actually, I can see that on my screen, so that it's working.
I have a little child on the loose around here.
Yeah. So, okay, am I holding it up now? Seeing the time delay on my other monitor. Is that amount of white?
Okay. So both of the adults look like that?
Yeah, within that range and more. And I had done that there, I believe, that's Alexis. And I had bred her to a high white male. And I did one, let me see. I'm trying to think of the other now. I don't know. Doug had done, that was the clutch, though I think I euthanized.
You euthanized the whole clutch?
Yeah, they wouldn't eat. And I'm not forcing these things. They're just
called the Ryan Young.
I think something's wrong here, and I'm like, I don't want to deal with these. What am I going to do with them? Force feed them and then sell them to somebody? You know what I mean? Like, it's just
good.
It's not. Well, it's just not my thing. If I'm not going to keep it, if I'm not going to keep anything out of it, then I don't. You know, I'm not going to sell it to anybody either. You know, so it's just like, nah.
Okay.
But it, yeah, I'm just trying to think.
Yeah, well, so you trying to catch that?
I'm trying to think if that male was used somewhere else. But I did it enough to know that I'm not getting anything. I wasn't getting anything white. It seems like it's if you inbreed them, then you'll get the white. And that's, again, what kind of reinforces the idea that I think this is occurring to a degree naturally. You know.
What, natural inbreeding?
Yeah, to a degree. I mean, because if you take these in and you know that they're unrelated and you're not getting any white at all. But yet, if you inbreed them, you know that you get white. It's just sort of like, again, but not my area. I'm not a high white guy. Like I said, the Marukis, they're ruse. I don't like the body structure. It just wasn't ever interested.
What about Maniquari? What about the magic Maniquari medium?
Say that again?
The Maniquari medium.
Maniquari.
Yes.
What was the second word?
The Maniquari meeting that you said took place.
I don't think that one's worth touching, dude. I don't think. I think I've caught glimpses over here that they're not all just. Oh, yeah, that's not true. There's multiple environmental factors at play with all those things. Just as genetic as color.
Oh, that's Pat. That's Pat. Pat is DFW. What's up, Tracy?
Yeah, I mean, see, this is the thing. You can't. I don't know why. Green trees are different than the other stuff. It's clear. I mean, you can't compare them to any other species when it comes to what you can get away with inbreeding with other species, as to what you can, with chondros. It just, for whatever reason, it doesn't work. I mean, we've seen that over and over and over again. There's just no question about it. And I didn't even inbreed my mice. I just didn't see the point. I didn't need to. Went around and got mice from different sources that I knew, okay, this is different. And like I said, it still took me a while to get, it took me 2.5 years to get a mice colony going. But I mean, I can only speak to with what I've, worked with and done on that. And if it doesn't align with, these things, the solution to what I'm talking about is an easy fix. This isn't an end of the world scenario. If that's what people want, okay, outcross it, fix it, then go back into that again. Don't keep doing the same shit that ain't working. Everybody's talked about this stuff behind the scenes on how their animals won't breed, and males that won't breed. I mean, female doesn't have a choice really in the matter, but males that won't breed do you no good. You're not getting anywhere with that. So it just comes down to, these are fixable problems. That's my point. You don't just start over with, not over, but just start with something healthy, big, preferably big. It's a hell of a lot more fun to deal with 30 than it is with 6. I don't know why that's so controversial. You can keep a lot more.
Travis had like 26 eggs, and he said that he didn't want to do that shit again.
Well, feed them less. Feed them less. They'll give you less. It's not that hard, but I mean, if you're getting animals that are problematic, I had weeded all that stuff out years ago, so I, all my stuff that went on would, there were babies that just not an issue. Like, maybe once in a while I would have one where I'd need to, stick a piece of chick down or something on, and then take it, but no, and then after that it was fine. But that I had chick down in the freezer for like, I don't know, 10, 15 years from the same one that I would just pluck a piece off once in a while.
So you said the baby doll line came from the Cincinnati Zoo. That's where it originated from.
Yeah, yeah. Since she was Cincinnati Zoo.
Where did your other animals come from? Jade.
Jade was an imported animal.
Okay.
Let me see.
Because it seemed like you had multiple animals that were you didn't just have one, but there was multiple that had was given basically huge offspring. I guess what I'm getting at is, do you kind of remember? So I know this was in the early days of the importing and shit and locality shit, but do you remember where any of your founder animals labeled as when they came in?
When I would ask on stuff like that, the locality stuff wasn't really a big focal point,
Okay.
because we saw so much of it where, you'd see somebody like they had, I remember, I'll never forget, this guy had a clutch of chondros at the show. He was like next to me over in Hamburg at the table. And guy says, "Oh, I'm looking for an Aru chondro." And the guy goes, "Here you go, right here. These are Arus." Guy comes up half hour later. "I'm looking for a Biak." And there might have been more to it. The only reason I remember those is Aru and Biak were the only ones I was really familiar with for years and years.
Yeah,
And
Aru,
he's
Biak,
like,
and Sarong. Those were what y'all
yeah.
most of.
And he's like, "Right here, Biak, here you go." And
The
it's
same
like,
animals?
yeah, same. They were all clutch mates, And it's just like, really, I will never forget the guy. I'm at the show, and a guy is writing. I thought that my first thought was, this guy's a freaking genius, because it didn't occur to me what he was doing. He has the little rubber, the deli cup rather, and he's penciling in on the side all the meals the dates that it ate. And all he's doing is going like 12/7, 98, 12/14, 98, 12/21, 98. And it's like,
wow,
maybe he fed them all at the same time. So then I'm looking through later, and it's like, no, he's just making the dates up for as feed records. So that was for a long time when I would take the feed records to the show, I would take like a dozen animals to the show. And it's like, okay, you pick what you want. And then,
my son is sick.
I'll send you the feed records along. I'll mail them to you. At whichever one you pick. Like, you ain't gonna be able to read my handwriting. My chicken scratch is not gonna cut it. And I would get all the time. Then they get it home. It would eat for them, and I'm like, all right, well, you want me to send you the feeding records? Like, I need your address. Oh, I don't need it. It eats. And that's when I realized, oh, these feeding records are just proof of eating. That's it. Like, nobody actually cares like their actual schedule. Because there's information in there that I think is sort of important. Like, okay, it was born this day, it ate 3 days later, or it ate 2 months later. Like things like that. Like when I would pick out a baby, which I did on 2 occasions, that I knew were captive bred and born without a doubt. And I'm like, give me the one that has eaten the most. That is all I care about. Give me the one that has eaten the most. I don't care about anything else. And that was, the thing, my experience with that, like one of the things like with the boot camp that I did that people didn't understand, they thought it was just like power feeding. It's like, no, it's not just, in a way, it kind of is. There's a schedule to it. It's not overfeeding, but then there'd be times where I would let them get hungry, cruise around a bit, then sort of reinforce that. Okay, here, now you get fed. So it was watching and playing, but it was get them to the point. In other words, when it ships, it goes, it gets to them. I don't have to worry about it getting thrown off food, because I had animal. I remember one. The reason I was like that because she was 6 years old before she was big enough to breed. And that animal, when she came in at 6 months old, she would take a pinky every 2 months. Like right when she looked like she was ready to die, she'd take a pinky. And she did that for 6 months. And it took me years to get that thing to the point of where she would eat like 3 out of 5 meals. So even right before, because you can always fix a female. You get a problematic female, you can always fix it. No problem. You get a problematic male that wasn't started correctly, there's nothing you're going to do to fix that. There's nothing you can do. But that's why just getting that routine was so important to me.
What's that Chondro boot camp that you just mentioned? What is that?
Just like I said, it's just basically, keeping a routine, but more, also withholding, get them active, get them moving around and stuff, and then, feed. But just, get them on that schedule where they're not, when they get shipped out, they're not going to go off food and make somebody's life hell like, what I had gone through. So really everything that I did was because of that one animal. I'm like, I never want this to deal with it. And all the years, I only ever had one guy, which was, the funny thing is, bear. And this is the one issue where they get tricky. It was a 18-month, 2-year-old male that he got. And he knew what he was doing and everything. There's no question about it. But they get temperamental sometimes. They get like pouty about being moved, And I brought it back. He shipped it back. I waited 2 days just to let it settle in, and it ate. It was literally less than a second. It bailed it. I'm like, okay, the thing's just happy here right now. But I kept it for another month or two, fed it up again, and mailed it back out. That was the only animal I ever had where anybody had an issue with feeding. And that was always the thing, that I just wanted to make sure that people got critters that made their life easy, were fun. They're not fun when they don't eat. There's nothing about this that's even remotely entertaining when you don't have hardy critters that eat well.
Hell no, that's
the truth.
Yeah, it's not fun. But yeah, they with this delay over here, you bobbing around, it keeps throwing me off.
Hey Rob, how do you feel about how do you feel about the equipment that we're using now as opposed to the equipment that you first used? Like, do you feel like it's better than the equipment?
Oh my God,
way worse.
You have to keep in mind, the first time I bred green tree pythons
back in the 30s.
I went and bought a dimmer. This is what the reptile guys would tell you to do. There wasn't really anything else out there to do. So it was
that's why they ain't around no more.
A dimmer switch that you wired into an extension cord, and then you would plug into that. And then you would basically run it from that, which the problem was throughout the day, as it changed, that didn't. Temperature in the room changes, that would have to be adjusted. So then I went into helixes, and I found out, I'm like, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. After the, checking 6 times a day on cages to have a helix that adjusts the temperature every 15 seconds. I'm like, this is wonderful. But I know now, like, the guys are using I can't remember the names, but the stuff now is just state of the art. You can't go wrong. The helixes were good. I still would never use anything on my incubators other than a helix. But I know there's new stuff out there that'll do like even multiple probes and things and different stuff. I don't even understand how some of that stuff would actually work. Like I think John had told me about it can run like 2 cages of different sizes I'm like, how is it going to do that? I don't know. I guess yeah, I don't even know. I have to think about that again. That's throwing me. But that was one of the things I always wondered. But never needed it. Like I thought the helixes only lasted so long, and I had stocked up on them, and it turned out that it's not an issue. They weren't burning out. Like they weren't a problem. I had one. The one in my one incubator ran for basically from the mid 90s to 2018. That thing never was shut off. You know, and that's through power flickers and everything else, you know, which is really a lot harder on that older stuff than it is the newer stuff. But I think it's probably a good idea, like for an incubator anyway, to have a battery backup. You know, you're only running like 4 to 6 watts. But yeah, go ahead.
So, Rob, with the collection of animals that you have right now currently, how much different do you think those animals are than the animals that we can actually purchase on the open market? Because from your standpoint, the animals that you're trying to breed, they're larger. So I would think that if your animals can reach these large weights quicker and, you know, safer, I would think these animals might look a little bit different from just, you know, a body composition point to the animals that we're seeing now.
Well, the stuff I only held back they had to at least be solid. I don't want to say like the Jello body types they left early on. So from normal to the solid piece of muscle would be like the range that I kept in. Like that's just everything is sort of combined into that stuff now. You know, one way, like, you know, throwing jade blood in on the one, and then I did different variations of that with her daughter and son, stuff like that. I mean, it's something that's simple to breed for. I see different animals out there that, well, yeah, yikes, yeah. Shit. I just pictured some of that stuff. I mean, because one of the things too that one of the other defects that should be brought up again, because this was sort of a conspiracy, really. But the whole idea of sitting down and, okay, how do we explain away this belly defect, the skin fold, the het for flying chondro, as I like to call it? Well, okay, let's blame it on the baby. Let's blame it on the baby. Let's blame it on the baby pictures. Baby.
I'm gonna find you some pictures that he's talking about that have a flying chondro. It's like,
I have the worst example ever. The one I traded 5 jade animals, 5 jade babies, 6-month-olds. Okay, all 100 grams each.
Bruh, 6 months?
Yeah, jade animals. For was a
grams. What was you feeding them? That's why I want you to get into that.
That was just jade blood, dude. That was just jade blood. That's just the way they were. Jade blood absorbed every gram. Like,
I want you to tell us about that. Go ahead.
There's nothing in that that's going to change anything with that. That was just jade blood. That's just, like I said, I deserved her for the hell that I went through with so many different other things that I got burned on and stuff. So I deserved that animal, but I'll never see anything like that again. You know, I mean, that was a 1 in a million kind of snake. I mean,
grams 6 months. That's crazy.
I'm sure there's others out there like that, but
actually, you traded them 6 for what? What happened?
I traded 6 of those for what was, because I wanted, it was a red baby, and male. It was like two or so. And that thing, I mean, I'm not kidding you. It looked like it could leap out of a tree and glide to the next tree. You know, I mean, it looked like it was outstretched, and somebody laid it on a burner and melted it. Like it was made out of plastic at one point, and just the belly shoots were just flattened out. It was the weirdest thing, because I saw it before I bought it. I didn't register to me what I was even looking at. I had no idea what I was looking at, you know. And I had the thing probably
you said it's 6 for 1?
Five for one.
5, yeah, 5 for 1.
Damn.
And all because it was a red baby. You know, again, how did that work out for me? You know what I mean? Like,
who you trade that? Who you trade that with?
Ophological Services. Now, that wasn't a secret, because when I took the animal back, I was told, "Yeah, bring it back. We'll make good on it." And I had it at the Mars show, and I'm like, okay. I just spoke to Cindy for 2 hours while I'm waiting for Gene to finish talking to somebody, and then Gene tells me, "We'll take it up with Cindy. You bought it from her." It's like, dude, you told me at that little get together that we had where I gave away the ball python that you'd fix it. That's why I brought this snake here. That's why I'm here. And 20 people saw the snake and heard the story while we were waiting. So he didn't care about hiding it, you know, whatever. It's just like, you know, it was what it was. But I didn't know what to do about that. And I couldn't decide on, I knew I couldn't breed it. So it's like, what the hell do I do with the thing? Do I sell this to somebody, but then I don't want that in the gene pool either. You know what I mean? Because, okay, say they do the right thing and they euthanize the babies that show that. Are then the babies that were normal, are they carriers of that gene? And unfortunately, again, that one died. You might be seeing a reoccurring theme here on these ones that die early, but that one died at like 4 or 5 years of age. It only, you know, why does a male die at 4 years of age? Like, it's just not something that you run into. You know, it's not a problem.
True.
But I mean, so that's 2 animals, same bloodline there. So that's 2 males. One died at 7, one died at 4 or 5 years old. I don't know exactly how it was. But
so you said same bloodlines or 2 different bloodlines?
Same lineages.
Maybe they had cancer or something, or they might have had tumor or something. Like, you know,
no.
Same reason why we died.
Nah, nothing that showed externally.
We die. I don't wanna die.
They probably couldn't deal with that hair, Rob.
Could have been.
They probably saw the hair and had little GTP heart attacks.
The brunette wavy ramen noodle. Rob, you got super wavy hair, man.
What?
Bro, you saw the did you see the young did you see the young picture, bro, when it was like it looked like
I haven't seen young Rob Worrell. I haven't seen it yet.
That's the thing that still throws me. You guys got to realize I lost track of the last 4 years. So, because I didn't age until the stroke. I didn't age like that. Right after that, it was like boom. So I look in the mirror now. Well, I don't realize it then in so much in the mirror, but like when I look at this and I can see my picture on the screen, and I'm like, holy crap!
He said, "World don't crack, man."
What happened? You know, but that's, I guess, you know, you live through something like that. Whatever. You know, what's the alternative? So I made it through. Took a few years to bounce back, but
you still here kicking and breathing and living, bro.
Still what?
Still kicking and breathing and living here.
Yeah.
So then, so you had to talk. So then, talk about the last clutch you had, because shit, I didn't know about that. The stroke clutch.
the stroke clutch. Jesus Christ.
Well, then you kind of like, you know, have the shit right in the middle of your damn throat.
That I had paired up. Let's see. I had a breeder loan here. That what I was really excited about was that it was the way that animal had put on weight and everything. I'm like, this is in the category of jade blood. I was really excited about that animal, and it was an import that had already been cleaned up and everything. And I had it quarantined here anyway, just to, you know, obviously be safe. But it was the only animal that she had for, well, she didn't own anything else. And so I took that in, and I'm like, this is going to be something. And damn, I should probably reach out and find out what the hell happened to that. Thinking about it. But I don't know, I did 2 or 3 in the other room, and everything was together for about a week when the stroke happened. And then John came up along with a couple other people and took the animals. And fortunately, you know the story with those, you know, John, I got the animals back from John. Not the others so much, a few of them. But yeah, that trying to think what the hell was in there. It wasn't anything great. She threw some slugs and stuff. She was a virgin female to begin with, so I mean, still should have done well, but they weren't. One of the things that's sort of weird about snakes, you have to keep in mind, is when you breed them, like when you breed a 2-year-old, I've just got a warning I've never seen before. My phone is getting warm. Like, tell me something I don't know.
Oh, she won't phone you. The room's about to blow up. The sidelines and the rest.
I think it might just shut something off if it does.
No, it's just it'll shut the whole. It's an iPhone.
No, it's Android, I guess.
Chris, Chris is definitely.
iPhone will shut the whole phone off. So you know, if it's overheating, we can make a part 2, Rob.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, with the stuff you guys want to cover, you're gonna have to be a part 20.
Because we want to, you know, we can keep going, Rob.
I mean, because the thing is, and stuff on this too, though. I think it's one of those things where I see some questions over here that I thought I'd be able to read this easier, but I can't go through this quick enough to address any of that stuff.
Try, you want to what's his name? Try, you want to pull him up? See what he's talking about. Pull him up.
Which question are you talking about?
Oh, no, I don't see. I see him going back and forth with each other, and but with the inbreeding in that, and it might be easier. Like I said, again, as time progresses here, and I recover more, I might be able to make sense of some of this stuff and explain things a little bit better. Okay. But I'm just sort of limited right now, as far as.
It's all right. It's truly all right.
How I'll explain it.
I'm sorry.
I mean, at least I can follow and stay on track right now. Like I said, I couldn't have done this even that long ago.
Rob, you ain't giving yourself enough credit, Rob.
Well, I told you. I mean, I told you I would figure. I said the end of April. I said the end of April.
You're not giving yourself enough. You're not giving yourself enough.
I was on track for that.
You good, Rob? You good, man?
No.
You good, man? You good? Just your hair. It looked like it's made out of leather.
I thought my hair was made out of leather.
Yours is too, but you got like that, like Memphis leather. He got like that Pennsylvania leather.
What the hell are you guys talking about? Leather. It's goddamn good hair.
Yeah,
That's good hair. Right?
Hey, as long as it stayed, I don't care. That's all I cared about.
Yeah,
That was the thing. After the stroke, anything serious like that, you break your spine, stroke. I guess even in some cases heart attacks.
That's the only thing you was worried about was your damn head, Rob.
Well, no, let me get there. So 2 months to the day, they say 2 to 3 months, but it was like 2 months to the day, my hair started falling out. And I'm like, really? Was I that much of an asshole that it's like first I go through a stroke and now I'm going to go bald? You know, like really? Is this what it's coming to?
People,
but the thing, it was pouring out at a rate for so long. I mean, literally handfuls every day that I would look. I'm like, how do I have any hair left? Like, how is this even possible? Because you couldn't really tell. You know, my barber could. And then in July or August of 23, as soon as I started getting like parts of the brain again working and functioning again, then that stopped. So I mean, that would be like a neurologist that's sort of inquisitive. I would take that too.
I was like about to say, you got like a super brain that made your hair grow back.
No, that super brain got destroyed by the stroke. That
sounds like the same guy who's just like, it sounds like those Nigerian preachers, bro. They be doing weird shit like, let me cure you of your infertility problem. With my mouth.
We know, Tuck, you bald bastard.
Yeah, Tuck, it's over for you, Tuck. You're gonna have to be really cool at some shit. Like, you're gonna have to be the man at Frisbee or some shit. Like, you're gonna have to know how to make real good steaks, because you're gonna have to have a real good personality and some skills to overcome that cul-de-sac.
What's up, Rob? So you a gun guy, Rob? Tell us about, you being a gun guy.
You want to go on to guns?
Yeah, Rob. Before we get up out of here, we're gonna touch on guns.
Yeah, let's make Rob look hella unhinged.
Wait, hold on. Rob don't need our help doing that, first off.
Yeah, we're just amping it up.
He's not unhinged no more, though. Rob is, he's a changed man. I think the stroke stroked him right,
real
bro.
calm, man.
You guys, you see, again, you guys are mistaking. Like I said, you have to understand, because it at least it gets people talking. It's worth it. I didn't mind taking the hate on that stuff, because if it can reduce the inbreeding, it's worth it. I'll take the hit on it. I don't care. Whatever. I ain't worried about me. So you have to stir up the shit. And I wouldn't recommend that.
That's what got me reached out to you, Rob. Remember, everybody was, when you was talking about that shit, everybody was. That was about 4 or 5 years ago now. The last
rant, because that was that was the 5th. Because he didn't need to do that early, because that was like the 5th time, or 4th time. Because like I said, about every 5 years I would go on, and I just realized it wasn't. I wasn't making a difference.
Every
just
5 years,
talking.
you do what? You just hop on, go on a rant.
Yeah, I bring it up and get it out there, because I mean, this is the problem. This is the thing.
He said, "Look there and watch this about that time."
Robert's really just Charlemagne the God. This is
the thing. When once these guys jump into this where they've spent $6,000 to $8,000 on one baby. They're done. They're done. And I know what that means. Like that, there's no recovering that.
Explain to us what that means, Rob. Explain to the public what that means.
Okay.
Because we don't know what that means. What do you mean? I know what that means. What does that mean?
I know the problems that they're going to have with those bloodlines. I know every problem that they're facing. And I know what kind of misery those animals are going to create. There's not one of those bloodlines that are enjoyable. You know what I mean? They're all problematic in one way or the other. You know,
I don't necessarily know if I say that because people do still seek to get them.
People that don't tend to really know better. But I tell you, there were guys that got into this in the 90s, got out of this 2010-ish, that never knew what a good hardy chondro was. Never owned one. All they knew were problematic animals, and they thought that's just what everybody else is dealing with. So, hey, I can put out all this information out there. It's not going to change anything because everybody's dealing with the same problematic animals as I am. And that's just not the case. But what I hate to see about it, and what I'm trying to get across, is what do I have to gain by knocking on this stuff? You know what I mean? I'm not competing with it. I don't care, you know, but I know that they do not last because I've watched this. Every single one of them, they'll hang in there 5-6 years, then they'll get out, you know, and they spent a lot of money on it.
Like, I'm going to somewhat say I agree with you. And the only reason why I'm going to say somewhat agree with you on this is because one thing about what I've seen over the years is that seems to me, and I could be wrong, but it seems to be the place where a lot of people on the Facebook groups are in their experience as keepers. And these are like really combative keepers a lot of the time, and they base everything that they learn off of
how much money they spent.
Yeah, based on how much money they spent.
But this is my point though, is you cannot admit to yourself that you have a problem, let alone to anybody else if you want to sell it. You know what I mean? So you don't have somebody that goes in, drops that kind of coin, and then comes out and says, you know what? The problems with all this is, because for the most part, they're into at least for a couple. So, you know, at these day and age, you know, it's been that way now for years. A couple of those animals, you know, you're talking $15,000, $20,000. You know, so how do you correct for that? What do they do? First thing I would suggest is start trying to outcross it. Just find something hardy, outcross it, you know. And Kino, that's where, like the critters that you've got, you know, that's fresh blood. Sounds like they're doing good. Unrelated to everything out there. Raise those things up, see what they do, cherry pick your colors off of those. Then you can sell those things for stuff like that to outcross, you know, and that sounds like, you know, they're doing really well on that, you know.
Yeah.
But that's the thing where I've seen this so many times where people get into this. And I mean, even I'll tell you a guy that he fell for what is that? The high yellow, solid yellow locality supposed to be again?
The Covials that were canary, the canary Covials.
Yeah. So he had spent $50,000 on 5. And this guy had been around for longer than me. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Why would you even consider getting those animals? Like, we all know they're just like Biocs, but they just, you know, they take 5 years instead of 3. You know, like, what are you even considering? And I don't mean just like, you know, high yellow like the Biocs do, but like, you know, they just go dull green and then boom, you like it overnight, they're green. I've seen different variances of that, and I've seen the ones that stay yellow. But what are they at 5 or 6? I mean, that's the thing that's sort of deceptive about some of those, where you can breed them at 3, 3.5. They can produce the babies. You sell them. Okay, this is the picture of the adult, but what's it look like when it's 5? You know, I've seen that with the ox even, where okay, yeah, they were high yellow when they produced, but now they're 5 years old and they're green. You know, like he had 10 Biox. He had 1 high yellow. Every other one of them was like maybe 5% at the most yellow somewhere, you know, around the nose or a little bit on the spine or something. But he spent all that money, and that to the point where he had taken that out. He'd taken a mortgage out against his house, second mortgage.
Whoa, hell no, not for snakes.
Yep. And they all turned green.
Mm.
And he just happened to sell one right like a month before that, or 2, for $10,000 a piece. Knowing him, probably 12. I mean, he's going to make something out of it. And guy calls him up, and like they changed. And he's like, well, "What do you want me to do? Mine did too. I'm screwed." And it's like, you know, I just see people get sucked into this stuff. That's like, he knew better. I don't know if he wanted to believe it so much that I don't know. It's almost like he just wanted to believe it because the money was there. He could do it with chondros. It wouldn't have been a problem for him. And he just got suckered into it, you know, by convincing himself. I don't know, but I see this, like, that's the problem. Once these people have these issues, you're never going to hear it from them, you know.
Some people will tell you these things
behind the scenes.
I think we can't.
Absolutely.
I think we can't be all super.
I've been listening to this stuff behind the scenes
all the time
since the mid '90s, dude. Of different variations of it all. Yeah, it's a little bit crazy, but I just don't want to see anybody go down that path. Is all. You know, like, just be aware of what you're getting into before you do it, and just, you know, have a plan for when you know, have to deal with it. Because, you know, talk about miserable eaters.
Everybody's got a plan until you get hit in the mouth.
Yeah, I hear you.
So, Rob, we coming up on 2 hours and 40 minutes. I don't know how much longer you want to keep going. That's up to Kino too.
I
was saying that to say this. Like, I definitely want to do a part 2, and I want to get it done sooner rather than later.
Well, I figure, like I said, there'll be a lot to that I'm probably going to have to clarify, because I know I'm not doing a really good job on this, explaining some of these things.
Fine. So just because, like Rob, just because somebody.
Well, says, I mean, we revisit like things that I can focus on and explain better and clarify, and why maybe I know I'm not covering the details on or an explanation for why on a lot of what I'm saying, and that's
this is what I'm saying to you. Is you don't necessarily have to clarify a lot of stuff. Like, there's nobody here in this chat that's going to give you a bank loan for $1 million or take you to do whatever it is you want to do in life.
I don't know,
so,
man.
Like, just because
he was selling that hair, man, somebody might come along and see this and might need to reach out to Rob and be like, "Look, Rob, you know."
Listen, hey. I think Rob can easily finesse a seafood dinner out of somebody. I don't know. Beyond that, I
don't know, man. I think those days might be gone. I think those days might be behind me.
But the thing is, Rob,
you got to pay for
it. You can't look too far into it if people don't agree with what you say, man. I don't agree with a lot of people, though. I don't think you got to.
I'm not. Well, that's the thing where I think my message is more about, look, just be aware of this stuff before you fall down that path. because I know so many people that have just up and vanished. And I mean, literally, like Art. I mean, I remember Art Hidalgo. I love that guy, and he had a huge collection of critters. And I don't know what the story was behind that. I think it was because of the basins, but he abandoned his house with the snakes in them, and they were all left to die.
He saved
I
up
mean,
the whole house.
he just fled. Yes.
What
Yes,
happened?
and I think
like
actually,
fugitive, bro. He was.
I don't know. Nobody knows really.
He was in the
Nobody
back,
that I.
he was in that back. He was in that back cabin with Chuck Vogel.
Yeah, this was pre-Facebook,
Get up
really,
out of
for me. So,
Get out there.
yeah, I have no idea how anybody could find that guy.
Jail, man.
But I just,
Well,
over the years, I've seen this so many times where it's just such a simple thing to do.
That dude committed suicide.
Who?
It's a while ago.
Yeah, Facebook started 2004. Well, I didn't sign into Facebook until 2010. I remember giving Romano shit about. I'm like, dude, you got a Facebook account? Like, you're not a kid. He's like, it ain't for kids, dude. I'm like, oh, okay. That was on the MVF forum, I think, when I found out about Facebook. I'm like, yeah, I'll go and create an account. So I didn't create an account until 2010, I guess it was.
I got my first account in 2006.
Yeah, I didn't know what. Like, I have an Instagram account now for a few years.
I my account to like 2000, like,
and
16
I've
or some shit.
not really used that yet, but I don't know. I keep going back and forth to this stuff, but
well, Rob, would you be interested in doing a part 2 sometime real soon?
Yeah, sure, certainly. There'll be a few things I got to do.
But I'm not trying to be combative about inbreeding.
I got a couple.
What you said? What?
I have some others that I got to do. Like, schedule wise, I don't think it'd be a problem. I got some gun stuff that I'm supposed to be doing.
What's your favorite gun, Rob?
Full auto or semi-auto?
Me too, Chris. I had the same thing to get my first Facebook account.
I had an H&R M16 that it was a U.S. property marked gun from Vietnam era that came straight from H&R. It was in the NFA registry, and I loved that gun because it was so rare and everything. I mean, it was a museum piece. But
did it come from the military? Did it come from the U.S. military?
It was made for the Vietnam War. The Colt, Hydromatic, and H&R had the contracts at the time, and there were very few of the other two.
When it comes to the U.S. military and buying weapons, they don't buy the best weapons. They buy the best deal weapons that they can get. And this is coming from somebody who was an armor in the Army for several years.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Army guns be fucked up, man.
We'll put it this way.
Listen,
like,
I would tell you this. A lot of people don't know this, but like, it's a whole special MOS to fix guns in the military. The guns be fucked up. So when people tell me I got this Vietnam era, I'll be like, that bitch gonna blow up in your hand. You fired it, motherfucker.
Yeah, I mean, that gun, well, you just throw, it's an M16, you just throw a different upper on it, you know what I mean? Like, I played with it all the time. I played with it all the time. I never shot 223 out of it, but I shot rimfire. I shot rimfire out of it because I didn't want, to put the stress on the lower. Like I said, it was a museum piece. Like, it would have been a shame to do that, but I loved that, and the MP5s. I love the MP5s.
I feel like you grabbed that old ass Vietnam era M16 after you get done watching the movie Platoon or Tropic Thunder, and you like having real acrobatic shootouts reenactments in the apartment complex bushes across the street, Rob.
Yeah, that was just an investment, really. Like that
Yeah,
was.
I built my AI too, Trey.
Because I even got to the point where I'm like, I shouldn't even take this out of the house. Like if I scratch this thing, I mean, it's just, But I had condomed it up in all the areas it could get bumped or whatever, back of the charging handle and that stuff. Like, ran a different upper on it. You don't want to mark up a museum piece, man. But I played with the hell out of that thing. And when I threw it back together, I stuck all the original parts back into it because I never exposed them anywhere. And there was no wear on any of that original stuff because that was all part of. I mean, H&R's parts were separate than Colt's and Hydromatic parts. So anybody that's really into that stuff would know. Okay, these parts aren't correct. So I put all that stuff aside and got to play with it for a bit, and then stick it back together. But having a stroke changes all that stuff.
Yeah, but you're still kicking around here, Rob.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, this is the thing, dude. If I can't function on a level to, make a living again, I mean, I've got
shoot
problems.
Dice, Rob. Shoot dice, man.
Yeah, not shoot dice, shoot dices. Shoot dices, Rob.
And Travis got a blade. Travis got an opportunity to place you can work. You might have to unbutton your shirt again, a little lower, but
Rob,
I don't want to turn you on too much, dude.
No, I'm not talking about for me.
You scare me. You scare me, man.
It's extra crazy time.
Rob, there's a place where you can be working at. Travis, he'll put you on the payroll.
Is it called the abandoned building next to Kino?
Ain't no 50-50. And you're gonna have to pay a stable fee, but y'all gonna have to work the stable fee out.
Rob is just like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Have Rob be a gigolo.
I don't know.
Nah, too old.
You just gotta talk to him, Rob. You gotta talk to him, and you gotta move your hips a little bit like Patrick Swayze. Sometimes you're gonna have to take him to like the little. You're gonna take him to like the little ceramic class, and let him sit in your lap while you like make the pot and shit. And you gotta look at him, and be like, I really like bingo, even though you don't like her at all.
Taking a backgammon night.
Yeah.
Backgammon night.
Yeah, you gotta take her. You gotta take her to one of those casinos where they got a buffet in it. You gotta let her be. And when she be saying, "Should I eat this shit?" You be like, "You fine, just the way you are. Go ahead and eat it." She knows she shouldn't be eating that shit.
You take her to an all-you-can-eat buffet, Rob, so she think you rich.
Yeah, fancy. One with seafood. One with the crab. One with the shrimp that are boiled and they still in the liquid. That's how they gonna think you real fancy, Rob.
That's not sounding appealing.
It's not supposed to. You trying to get paid out here, Rob. Trying to throw your back out. You're trying to throw your back out so you can cash out.
Hey, you see? Look, you.
You know what? While I'm thinking of it here, guys, because this is right now, I'm wondering: is there a market for green animals now? Does that still exist?
Yeah.
Do you see that
condoms that they sell at the truck stop? They still popping out here.
Green animals.
Chondro? What the hell did you say?
Cherry Trav is a wild boy. That's Travis Kilcuz.
Yeah, that would be. I mean, figure out. I'm just sort of curious because I loved green chondros, dude. I really did. That was my favorate thing. I loved them. I love them. But see, I look at chondros differently, though. I'm looking at the body of them. I was never looking at the color. Color never really interested me much. But you got to make what people want. You ain't getting anywhere in chondros if you're just doing green. But I am curious.
We're gonna find out for you. And how that for you on the next episode.
Alrighty.
You said a market for green chondros.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go out on the limb and say no.
Well, I mean, just as would it be for animals to use them to outcross with, or to Because I'll never again deal with. I figured let the other people deal now with the newbies. I don't want to deal with newbies anymore. I did that for.
Well, if you say to outcross with, and for
use them
people,
to outcross for the
new
news.
people. For new people coming in, I say yes, and for outcrossing, yeah, too. I think both of them, yeah, I would agree.
There, personally like solid greens. I like this guy, but
Well,
yeah.
Rob.
All right, you lightweights. You guys look like you're getting tired. I'm the old guy here.
No,
but yeah. No.
Well, we want to ask you, like, what are your closing?
I'm good. I got a
man?
lot of stamina, Rob.
Yeah. What are your closing arguments, Rob? Like, what do you want people to know the next time they see you in a CBR promo video that they're gonna have to come in the comment section and fight with you about?
Like I said, dude, I can never figure out what the hell I say that's controversial until it happens. You know,
sure,
like
Rob.
I've watched this stuff
Rob.
for so long. No, I know the red stuff and the inbreeding stuff. That's controversial. I don't know. We'll have to see if anything else comes from that. I mean,
Rob, you know, if you come out here calling these people, pointing out that they got these tiny ass snakes and all that.
So
these
you won't fix it.
They
can always
my
fix
name
that.
is Rob Worrell. I'm out here breeding these snakes in leisure. These clutch sizes. Look at this. You can't do this. I'm doing this, but you can't do this because you're trash.
No, anybody can do it. You just gotta know how to do it. That's all.
Not true. There's some people that are.
Well, I mean, you do. Like I said, I've used this example before. If you just are refilling your water bowls,
then
don't keep chondros.
Wait, say it again.
If you just fill up the water bowls instead of clean out, take the bowl out, clean it. If you're just filling them back up, then yeah, you shouldn't be keeping chondros. Like that, that's not your species. That they require a little bit more attention than that. But compared to, I mean, like the Argentines and stuff, dude. I mean, the problems that they would have and the crap that they would just smear all over themselves and everything else. I mean, I've never had to wash a chondro off from climbing through its own crap. I mean, I don't think there's anything easy. I've never had a chondro rip a damn helix probe and screw the temperature up, in a rack or other cages. I had an Argentine boa.
Rob, how you feel about people? You know what? I ain't gonna ask you that. Never mind. I'm gonna shut up.
I had an Argentine boa rip the probe up, and that was like, yeah, no, not dealing with that stuff.
Anyway, Rob, man, I want to let you get your final thoughts out before we get up out of here, Rob.
I don't know, man. I don't think I have any words of wisdom here to go by. I just say, watch everybody, be careful out there. Obviously with Nido and everything.
Check your neck like Wu-Tang Clan.
And just research things a little bit. I know people are quick to jump on some of the stuff. Just look into it a a little bit. Feel around a little bit.
Research.
You'll get it.
Style.
Yeah, there you go. Great, comparing to the complete psycho.
Rob, I don't think that. Listen, personally, I don't think that the things that you said tonight were wrong anyway. It's just a matter of perspective on how you see the animals and people's perspective. Listen, there's people that are not going to tell you the truth about a lot of these animals being sick, and these animals may be coming from the same source.
That part really scares the hell out of me.
We're talking about just on imports and stuff. So like, there's all types of things that people may fight with you about in public, and it's only because they don't know how to address the situation. But there's some things that are going on in the chondro community that aren't good. We know they aren't. They just aren't.
Chris, I did call Rob one, a serial killer. He is. Cause man, look at him.
Anyway,
hey, I'm gonna show you a picture when he was young, Chris. Look, dog. It's like when he had the bulging eyes. It's either cocaine or a murder spree.
Okay.
Who the hell are you talking about?
One of them pictures when you was young, you holding a snake.
That's
He
all you
said,
saying,
"I'm good."
Rob. Rob, ignore this stuff. But yeah, we're gonna let you get out of here, Rob. You got anything that you want to get
Hey,
off,
but no, Rob.
Kino?
When we come back, when we come back next time, we're
No,
gonna
I
do
think I mean we'll figure out for
We'll
next
figure it out
one
this week.
I don't know. I mean maybe this stuff. I guarantee I ain't getting away without some kind of crap on this one. So just address that stuff for the next one, and then
Hey, look though, send it to us. Send it. Come to our front door. If y'all got a problem with anything being said on this show, bring it to us. We handle it.
Yeah, we'll
Leave
handle
Rob,
it.
leave Rob alone, man. Rob is doing what old people do. He go outside during the day around noon, go to the community fountain, watch the water spout up from the fountain.
No,
Feed the cart,
Rob
feed
one
the
of those
cart there.
cool. He one of those cool old dudes that got the little slingshot motorcycles that he drive through the parking lot real slow with his music blasted, so everybody know he really likes cameo songs. He one of them old guys.
It's all trouble,
Yeah.
100% trouble. No,
oh
Rob is
trouble.
my dog. Rob is somebody I got a lot of respect for.
Yeah.
Wow,
I admire
appreciate
Rob's
that.
fire and determination in the Chondro community because some
I
people,
mean,
you
dude,
know,
somebody's got to just point this stuff out from time to time. That's all.
yeah, some people, they go along to get along for whatever reason may
Yeah.
have you. But I don't think you care. Um, I think the
Yeah, when you
mistakes that you
started
want
the
to work with.
introduction about, you said some people think you shouldn't have me on, and I'm like, what? I'm like, oh yeah, okay,
No, that's
all right,
not. That's
that's
not
me.
about. That's not about. That's not about like the actual viewers. That's about one person in particular that can go suck a dick.
Well, don't
Sure
hold back
can.
now. Don't
Fuck you,
hold
bro.
back.
But I think that's us for tonight.
Yes.
You got anything
Okay.
else, Kino?
No, that's it. Rob, thank you for joining us, man. I appreciate it. You know the respect I got for you. I'll probably be calling your ass tomorrow, some other couple of days.
Yeah. Let me know, and we'll set up a date for you for part 2, Rob.
Alrighty. Sounds like a plan.
And before we get out of here, you got part 2 of another guest coming up next week. Just so you know, we keeping the knowledge in rotation.
Oh yeah,
Sounds
y'all
good,
got some.
guys.
Oh yeah, it's about to get. I'll tell you. Look, so I tell you what. I tell you what.
Don't
I
say
don't care
nothing.
what nothing. I don't care what nothing. Whatever said about the Chondro Bar Room. One thing we do is we're gonna keep uh the legendary people and the OGs that we have rolling through here. We're gonna keep them coming, and we're gonna keep a guest list that's raw. We're gonna keep bringing y'all people that shit. Rob done forgot stuff that we he done forgot knowledge that we still trying to get. We trying to learn. So when we have you know the wherewithal to reach out and have people like Rob on, we're gonna do that. And we're gonna continue to bring y'all the hottest guests in the Green Street Python game, whether they legendary and they got 30, 40, 50 clutches under their belt, or they new and up and coming people. We gonna talk to both of them and everybody in between. So you can't
Yep.
stop the rain.
You can't stop the rain. Good night, y'all. Let's get a
Alrighty.
CBR.
Thank you, Rob. Love you, Rob. Appreciate it.
Thanks
Hey,
for
we
having me
appreciate
on,
you,
guys.
Rob. Take
Next
Alrighty.
care,
week,
man.
y'all.
All right.
Good
Peace.
night.
Peace out, guys.
Can't stop the rain.